what are you doing about the police? I don't know whether you'll be surprised to learn that a bigger part of corruption on the roads is actually initiated by motorists, because people find it an inconvenience to comply with the law. Your license has expired, your insurance is expired, you still want to drive. So when the askari approaches, mkubwa tufanye namna gani? Now, is EACC the one that has brought this Kenya to do that? So we need to avoid this impunity, because impunity is one of the problems that we have as a nation. Let us not lure people into corruption. There's someone who said that EACC investigators receive bribes. I want to say that the safeguards, I'm not saying that people working in EACC are angels, they are not. But we have mechanisms in place to ensure that does not happen. And if you have any matter or any case, any suspicion of anything that may have happened, please let us have that and it will be dealt with. But I must clarify that, and this is very important for all of us, and let us pass this message to others. We have emerging criminal cartels across the country. Dr. Okot was right. Investigation into corruption can be looked at as lucrative business for those who are hell-bent on engaging in corruption. We have people almost across the country who are going to public officials claiming to be EACC officers and arresting people. As we speak, we have in custody 5 suspects who tried to arrest a senior official in Kitui. That was on Friday. They even include a police officer. So they conducted a purported raid in the Director of Revenue as a residence, claiming to be from EACC. They've done that in many other areas, and we have others. So when somebody comes and says they are from EACC, particularly counties, wanaangalia tu yule mtu anakaa ni kama, wakimwangalia ni kama ameiba. Wanaenda, wako na vitambulisho, hata zingine iko na majina ya EACC. If some IDs have my name, others have the name of the CEO. So sometimes we look at this courage, we call it courage in the negative. This courage that sometimes Kenyans have, and it puzzles all of us. So let us not say EACC is doing this because of those kind of things. Recently, last month, we also arrested a person.
I'll give you a minute to finish your submission. Eric,
let me finish. On that issue of imposters, we have a person who nearly became an MP for Kitui. He lost to the number 1 by around 100 votes. A person who is allegedly running an office giving fake EACC clearance certificates. He said to have branches. So let us expose these people and let us not mistake them to be EACC officers. So let's continue engaging. Invite us when we have this kind of engagements, and we are available to respond to whatever is there and also get feedback on what we can do better. I stop at that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric. I think it was only fair to accord Eric and team enough time to respond to a lot of issues that you've raised, including those limited and not limited to corruption. I will be unfair if I continue speaking. I would quickly allow all our speakers to make their remarks, quick ones, and see as we try to close down the spaces. But for now, Obeds, take over as you invite in Dr. Kuro, Paola, and all the other speakers that are in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's really been a very big struggle for me to get back to the speaker, but thank you for a very wonderful conversation. I do like what Eric has done, and I think from here on, Mizani, we need to listen to what he has said and also get ideas from people, put them to EACC for implementation, because I think it's important to ensure that whatever we discuss sometimes has to have some sort of an end to it, something that is tangible and can be followed up in a way that is productive at the end of the day. Thank you very much, Eric, for your time. I think maybe Dr. Kuru and Paula, maybe a quick reaction to what
Obeds, I really need to go, but I just had one question for EACC.
Thanks. I think there's so much has been said. I feel like we really need to find a way to condense everything into the key points. I'm particularly interested in what's being said by the EACC and the challenges and what we can do. And I'm very happy to hear the speaker talk of the need for more of these public engagement. And I think that X spaces are a good starting point, but I think we do need to look at some of the other tools that I'd mentioned earlier so that we can have more in-depth conversations on the specifics. But I'm very concerned that so many of the problems we're talking about, they seem to be so complicated and so complex, almost to be, we can't put our fingers on it and we cannot solve them. And I don't think that we should be left in that kind of a helpless state. We do need to figure out what needs to be done. As Irungu had stated, we need to address these 4 laws as a priority, or what we've just heard from EACC. These are the key issues that need to be addressed so that we can hold our leaders to account and we can prevent people who have cases against them from actually standing or taking up positions in government. Because I think what I really get is that if you're in government and you're there and you know there are cases against you, you will fight any reform in the law that will come for you specifically. So we really need to take this on and find ways of empowering, whether it's Gen Z or the public in general, to actually drive these very specific action points rather than talking generally about everything. We need to identify what are the 4 or 5 top things that need to be done immediately, and they need to be part of a request or a demand so that we can address the major issues that are driving the corruption in this country.
Thanks, Paula. I think we already have a group of that we can listen to the tape again and pick out the key issues standing out and what EACC has said and probably find a way to progress them. And with your indulgence, I think that will be possible. I wish to allow Dr. Ekuru Aukot so that we don't break the family in court, for him to go for the lunch. So please.
Yes, yeah, that's true, Obed. Thanks so much. I'm the only man in this house, so I can only enjoy the power of veto sometimes if I can. But anyway, let me say this. I've listened to Eric very keenly, but I think the critical question that is emerging is that Kenyans are not feeling the effect of the fight against corruption by EACC. And that's why the proposals we made earlier, which is that why don't we just criminalize these offenses in the ordinary way by way of the penal code. So I think if, for example, EACC were really to fight and even have some interagency working a mechanism, we say the judiciary or the other arm of the executive, and jail some of the big boys, big girls who are actually stealing money, I think Kenyans will feel the effect of the fight on corruption. For example, we know that there are people who are turned up billionaires during the COVID time, the COVID billionaires. But where are they? If people are not ending up in jail, if this information is not reaching out to the people as much as possible, as far and wide, then that effect is not being felt. And I think that's why, Eric, Kenyans are saying EACC is not being felt, and the fight against corruption is just cosmetic, that your own officers write very shoddy reports that DPP is not able to actually use effectively to jail. Yes, he used the example of Abado. But look, if you look at the Auditor General report, all governors in this country, all departments of governments are thieves in equal measure. Billions of money is lost, not accounted for. But honestly, where is the result on that? Secondly, and I want to make a proposal, and I don't know whether Eric will agree with me, we had proposed to amend the Constitution to make it, especially Chapter 11, to cite the governors or the governors particularly, because of the devolved funds, as the chief accounting officers of the county. The reason today you're having difficulties actually in nailing some of those governors, even though you have cited a couple of them, is because we must make sure that they are the CEOs, not just the political heads of a county. The accounting officer for all the devolved funds. That way, Eric, we are able to nail them. And that's why earlier on I made the proposal, if we make that amendment to the Constitution so that the laws can then become effective and self-executing, then it's possible for an auditor, an accountant to testify within a few minutes. and we create a special jail for all the thieves of public money. And in fact, we should make those jails very transparent so that it can become a museum of the thieves of public money. And I think that way, people probably bad manners of stealing will change and it will reduce. Thank you so much. Over to you, Mizani. 1 minute.
Thank you so much.
Obed, are you suffering the consequences of public fraud? Your mic is muted, Obed. Maybe clarify, you can hear me. Okay, can you try and see if you can proceed, please? And thank you, Dr. Okot, for those remarks.
I can't.
Unfortunately, Obed, I'm having struggles getting you from my end. Can any other person hear me? Kindly show me with 100%. All the speakers that are tuned in. Great, that means you guys can hear me. Can you hear Obed? Show me 100%. Or thumbs down. Looks like Obed, we can't hear you. Well, Obed, we are having problems connecting to you, but that means we'll be able to figure out what next. I will love to get a number of issues that are being raised towards the EACC presentation, including what laws can we put in place to ensure that you can effectively perform your duties. Maybe we'll come to that later on because we'll want to hear more from the speakers that are joining us. Esther, the mic is yours. Is it Esther or Easter? Easter.
Yes, it's Easter. How are you?
We are okay. Kindly welcome and prosecute your issue. You have a maximum of 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I might actually take less. I was of the same opinion that Dr. has mentioned, that honestly, speaking from a layman's perspective, trying to also imagine what the man on the ground is feeling, I don't honestly feel the force and the effort that the gentleman at the EACC tried to explain. And the point that I actually wanted to comment on was the point at which he said that EACC prevents crime from happening. I can assure you without a shadow of a doubt that that is not true. I don't think there's any Kenyan you can interview on the streets and if you asked anyone if they thought of stealing, that EACC crosses their mind. The other time there was a poll that had been undertaken of young people being asked if they had gotten a chance to steal, if they could actually loot, and they said yes, anything to get to where they wanted. So an honest opinion from a citizen like me today, I would say that from the record and the past that we have seen, I would just say that unless things change moving forward, I don't see what EACC does, and my opinion is that it should be disbanded. Thank you.
All right. Unfortunately, there are some instrument piece within the international community, but that's a story for another day. Esther, thank you for your remarks. Jean, welcome to the mic. Jean, you have the mic going once. Jean Leanjoroge. All right. Jean can't hear me. I'll drop and see if I can get her back. Eunice, the mic is yours. Eunice, are you speaking? I can hardly hear you. If anyone can hear Eunice, give me 100%. Otherwise, thumbs down. All right, we can't hear Eunice. Thank you. We'll be able to get them back. We will give this priority to Redemptor. Redemptor, please. The mic is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back. And I will speak as a citizen. I think we owe the young people the truth about these institutions. I had seen Dr. Okot has left, Professor has left. There's a reason they were set up. And there's a danger of throwing the baby with the bath water because we do not understand. And I highly fault EACC for having all these good points I'm hearing for the first time. I have never encountered EACC. I have never been to their offices. But as someone who is an end user of when people are corrupt, when there is no integrity, people steal, kill, and destroy. And so the end product of this is injustices. which is what the citizens are experiencing. And I feel like Gen X were in a fleeing mode, Gen Y, they froze, and now Gen Z is fighting. And I want to believe they will fight until they win. Make no mistake, they will fight until they win. This is the reason why they will win. They have something called a truth meter. As soon as someone starts speaking, they can identify this person is hiding something or is telling us the truth. And so that's one reason they will win, because the words you will not buy them with just words. The other thing the young people have that we seem to lack is the courage to use the information they have. We have a lot of information, but we don't use it because we fear if we speak up, the boogeyman is going to come and get us. And that's what happens, steal, kill, and destroy. So you've destroyed people's courage to speak up. So the young generation is not afraid. Now, I'll talk about institutions very easily as someone who helps those who have faced injustices. There's a speaker who has written articles about EACC, and she has no kind words about them. But some people have also talked about IPOA. And I will tell you, when you say you merge IPOA with the police, I will not walk into that police station to report an injustice. But I will comfortably walk into the IPOA offices because these are the conscientious cops. They know how to treat people with dignity. These other ones, I'm not saying they are bad people, but the whole environment of a police station is that a citizen is an enemy. I haven't been to EACC. I will make a point to visit because once you get to these offices, you get to know. So we will not now disband all these institutions because the people who made the constitution had experienced an unjust government in terms of dictatorship, silencing the voices of the people. And it's the same reason why we'll come back and say, I think the Gen Z are challenging EACC and IPOA because I'm seeing them coming and speaking up. And so the big challenge, even with Amnesty International and all those other organizations, is they hide their information in reports. Nobody reads reports, but people listen to videos. TikToks are the finance bill. I heard the president saying the communications team failed. When you give information and it's not truthful, I've told you the young people have a truth meter. They can tell you when you're not sincere because you cannot keep coming to citizens who are oppressed with the suffering. Sorry, my phone keeps ringing. I'll switch it off. That people who are so oppressed because of economic hardships, and you send people who are full to talk to them. So they read and they say this is not truthful. Let's empower institutions instead of saying because they did not work. An example is, I'll name names if they come after me. The media houses have played a part in this because during elections, I have walked into a a media house to ask them to cover a case. And what did they say? All cameras are covering this party's campaigns, the other cameras. So all the media houses start running after the politicians. And so we are left, we have cases that we want to highlight, we have issues we want to be highlighted. And I don't understand why EACC is not going to these talk shows and talking about what they've just presented to us. And I wanted to ask a question. I'll leave a question. Is it illegal for government departments to speak up? Because we have the presidency, have 3 mouthpieces. They have the presidential press unit, they have the government spokesperson, and I think there's a 3rd one. So they are paid billions of money to speak on behalf of the government, but then the departments cannot speak. So when we had, for example, the biggest scandal of sugar, so now we are taking poison. The other one was the one that interferes with food security, the fertilizer. We only saw a few talk shows here and there, people fighting for themselves, but the agriculture department didn't come. A long time ago, government departments used to give talks, and that brings me back to information. Our 2 sources of information, one of the biggest is the church. And so what happens on Sundays? The politicians go and take the microphones, and so, because we are talking about integrity, the policing of our morality, because we have a moral issue, not a legal issue, then gives the power back to the politician. So they start telling wale majama every Sunday, so they never address the decay in our morality. They receive money from these people, so they cannot tell them, if I'm going to give you a permission to speak, I'll also allow a citizen to speak about how they're experiencing the government. So before I sum up, I'm seeing Mizani's hand is up. Maybe I've gone over my time. The last submissions I have to make is we have people who've talked down on the younger generation, and I have news for you because I'm talking to them. They are not going to listen to you. Because when you go to talk shows, you just bring politicians to talk about this side and this side. So you pitted the citizens against each other with the two divides, and now the citizens have turned on you. And they have these young people who have information, and they're not afraid to share the information. So I would like IPOA, EACC, Amnesty, and all the other organizations to make TikToks and give this information to the young people. I am impressed that people have made a poster of all the missing persons and the people who have passed, and the ones who are unidentified. I'm praying they will be identified, because only the truth will set this country free. Thank you. Those are my submissions.
Thank you, Redemptor. I had to give you some grace in order to bring up a few issues that you had mentioned earlier. But you direct your concerns towards EACC in terms of the communication, especially when we have a country that believes this instrument, or rather this arm of administration, is not really delivering the things that Kenyans want to hear and see happening. But when we listen to Eric, we are starting to question our intelligence and our belief system on how corruption is being tackled in our country. Eunice, earlier on, I gave you an opportunity. Let's see if this works. The mic is yours. Eunice, if you're using an external mic, it is not working for you. Just use handset free option. Or if you just install the app, go and check that you've enabled access to mic. That happens quite a number of times. I will cross over to the next speaker. Let's give this to Jane. Jane, if you're there, the mic is yours, going once. All right, we don't have Jane with us.
Hello.
Okay, Jane is there. Proceed. Yes.
Yeah, I have a little problem with my mic as well. If you give the next person so that I can fix it, then I'll come back.
All right. Actually, we could hear you now. So if you don't mind, you can proceed.
Okay.
All right. Let's go to the next speaker.
Yeah, it's muting me. So that's why I'm saying.
All right, let's see if that works. And if you are also having the app, sometimes you can clear the cache. That works out for you and restores the normal functionality of the app. Stella, any question? Quick one to you.
Thanks, Eli. I have listened to EACC as well, and I wanted to follow up with a question on, and I've seen someone ask, I think it's Abdul Rahman on the comments. He was asking on whether there are proposals that the EACC has forwarded to push for legislation or amendment of legislation, because Eric is consistently telling us that the buck does not stop with them. They have to push the cases to DPP and the judiciary. And then he goes ahead to say that there are laws that they do not have power to implement some things. So the question is, are they following? We have to see some effort from the EACC. And someone mentioned also under the comments that it doesn't matter how much the EACC explains what they are doing. The fact that Kenyans do not think or do not feel that EACC is doing enough, because every day we have corruption cases, many of them involving a lot of money. What are they doing apart from giving the recommendations, and are they pushing for legislation amendments or for them to be given powers to be able to help Kenyans and do their mandate in a very well manner? And also, there are other few questions, just two of them. I'll just mention two. Someone is asking, what is the boldness, or how is the boldness of EACC to follow up on corruption in the executive arm of the government or ministries and the judiciary? And also, what is their success rate? And then the last one, what is the work plan for the EACC? Because it looks like in fighting corruption with the new realities of technology and skill, they do not have that capacity. So what is the work plan? Thank you, Eli.
All right, Stella, thank you for that, giving us a summary of the questions from most of you. EACC, that is Eric, you want to give a 3 minutes quick response before we can go to other speakers?
Thank you so much for this additional questions. Dr. Okot talked about having cases dealt with under the penal code. The issues relating to corruption has its own legal framework. That is the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act, which has even higher penalties, more sanctions than the penal code of the police that he was talking about. And then that framework also creates special courts, special magistrate courts that deal with the corruption. So there is much more really beyond what you had talked about. Secondly, whether the commission is aware of the reforms that are required, that's the legal reforms. We are increasingly engaging JLAC of Parliament, and they have many proposals on the areas that require to be changed. Remember, those who steal public resources don't just sit and wait. They are also planning. They keep on changing their tactics. They change the mechanism they use. So we should continuously ensure that the law responds to emerging challenges and new patterns of engaging in corruption. So such proposals are there. The other thing that I think is important is that, as I said, the fight against corruption in Kenya requires a multi-sectoral approach. EACC can only be a lead agency. It must be supported from the front and from the back. For example, today we have parents bribing to send their children to certain schools that they desire. There are families today that you walk into and right from the gate, everything is corruption. From the gate, nyumba, the roof, the swimming pool, and the kids are aware. So when we don't teach our children of the need for integrity, responsibility, and that which is not yours is not yours, then we are also contributing to this problem. If your child comes home with a pen that you know you did not buy, a sweater you know you did not buy, and you are the parent, you keep quiet about it, that looks like a minor issue, but that is how we grow corruption. And these children, at the time when they begin working in institutions, these are the same things that they will do. I want to talk about universities also and the issue of fake papers, fake academic certificates. Universities are to blame because from the investigations done so far, we realize that it is not just the individual holders of fake papers. There are universities today that are facilitating, that have engaged in the practice of selling qualifications to the extent of creating files complete with an admission letter, cut marks, all through up to the end. So that when you write to that university, in order to confirm whether one has a fake paper or not, they say the individual is okay. So you are able to see that there are many actors that are required to do certain things so that we address the challenges facing the nation. Let me finalize by saying that when you have a forum like this and you have recommendations that need to be acted on by different institutions, it should not be enough to, we talk and then have very good views and ideas and it ends there. It's important to channel these recommendations even to those institutions, because the moment you have information on the real things on the ground, that could actually inform the conversation in different ways. For example, if we could have sufficient information on the issues around the question of corruption in our country, you would realize that some of the things that people say, including calling for, disbandment of institutions, you realize that what we need to do is much more. What is the other one? I think I've responded to the question, unless there is one I've not responded to, and you can point it out so that I respond before you disconnect me.
Yeah, that's quite fair. Stella, anything? And maybe we can make it brief so that we interact with the other speakers.
Yes, there's one he hasn't responded to, and many people have raised the issue on focusing on small cases. So it asked, how is the boldness of the EACC to follow up corruption in the executive arm and ministries?
Good. There has been, that talk of small fish versus big fish. And to us as EACC, we do not have small fish or big fish in the fight against corruption. First of all, the law requires us to handle all corruption cases that are brought before us. I saw yesterday when we arrested the county land surveyor of Kericho because of demanding 200,000, somebody recommending that, these are small fish. Remember, that Kenyan who has lacked that service for 1 year because he is unable to pay the 200,000 shillings, the justice that they require is to have that kind of action. On the other hand, if you say focus on big fish only and you do nothing about the small fish, they will grow, and by the time you realize they'll have also become big fish. And collectively, those small fish eat more. So to us, we deal with corruption regardless of the size of the fish, if people were to be caught fish. It's only that cases involving petty corruption, they are very easy to investigate. That's why you can see them, getting to court faster than the others. On the other side, the white-collar crime will involve experts who have planned it. So to unravel that, you need time, money outside the country. That will take time. And I earlier said that we have over 10 governors in court. I don't know whether those are small fish. You have seen former CSS, Balala, and others to the commission. We have people such as Oparanya who are supposed to be charged, but due to this emerging issue of orders stopping prosecutions that people ordinarily go for, is yet to be charged, and others. So it's a mixture. Sometimes people say that kwa nini huyu ni wa chama hii? The commission is not guided by anything else other than the law. We follow corruption. If you find it inside a governor, now the party to which they belong does not arise. The other thing I also talked about is the fact that cases may appear, to be taking time, but as EACC, we are making progress incrementally, and by the end of it, those who should face justice need to face justice. Only if we could address the obstacles. In other words, if we address the obstacles that slow down the process, much more progress will be made. So there is no small fish or big fish. But let me also say this. Senior officials, including governors, are now using the people you call small fish to engage in corruption. We have governors, PSS, state corporation heads using children on attachment to open companies that are now used as conduits for corrupt conduct. So don't look at the designation of the person involved. Sometimes those who cause more fish are the ones who are actually involved. The other time you saw this case of a cleaner in the Ministry of Interior, Eric Kipkurui Mutai, whose 7 companies were used to swindle 257 million out of the entire 450 million that was stolen. You also look at what is happening in counties. They use those people. So that is why you see them paraded in court. You will see some crying, while recording statements explaining how they have been used. So all fish, whether small, big, fat, thin, or otherwise, are bad, and the corruption is bad regardless of who is doing it, and we will pursue all. That is all.
Thank you. I'm going to move to the next speakers. Now we'll have George, followed by Eunice and Kingori. Kindly, we are really limited with time. We've been here since 10 in the morning. I would love for us to be kind enough and spend it wisely. George, you have 3 minutes. Proceed.
Thank you so much, Mizani. And I'm so glad that we are able to communicate and interact directly with the EACC. And I want to bring to the attention of most of us that before EACC, there was Kenya ACC. And Lumumba, ile jamaa wa kizungu mingi, was the director of KACC. And at the time, he was getting paid 1 million shillings a month to aid corruption. Well, if you go back, before him, there was John Githongo, permanent secretary of ethics and governance. And I'm bringing both cases because what Githongo found in Kibaki's government, that the same ministers over him were the ones involved in corruption, is exactly what Lumumba found in Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, that the person who was involved in the water scandal was the husband to one of the powerful people in government. And so my question is, what would you, EACC, want implemented constitutionally so that if we have the appetite to amend the constitution, we put it in there for you to be fully independent so that you are able to do your job. Every time, when you were speaking earlier, you said you go, you have the power of the court, you investigate these cases, then you give them to the DPP. Where are the disconnects in exercising your duties? And where does the failure come from? So that we can know what is your wish list, so that when we have a backbone as a country to change or amend the constitution, we give you those powers, exactly the same powers that the FBI has over political interference. I mean, the FBI is best known for investigating the Watergate. The president was involved in it. They had the power to wiretap the president. They have powers to investigate governors. They have powers to arrest CEOs of companies because they are a system devoid of the interference of the politics. The same case applies to the IRS, the tax body. When those investigative body of the IRS go after corruption, and we saw what happened with Enron in early 2000s, they get incentivized inside of the system. And I go back to the FBI. If they seize properties, including private jets and boats and wads of money, they get to keep those things to help them advance their jobs. All those things are protected by the Constitution. So for you, EACC, a very narrow direction, there are things that frustrate you in your duties because you do not have the powers, or you are working with one hand tied to your back, or you have to depend to a DPP who may not see the things you do. You tell us that you want a constitutional court directly working with you, directly giving you these express warrants, directly giving you these powers, directly giving you access to expedite prosecutions, and as somebody also indicated, special jails and prisons for these kind of crimes, so that you are working as a system devoid of political interference. So you overlast politicians and political cycles of 5 years. What is it that is in your wish list, that if we had this power from the court, if we had this power from the judicial system, if we had this power from the justice system, then we would have been able to expedite our duties? And don't forget, a means at which to incentivize the people working for you, so that they feel that they are doing a contribution and their contribution is rewarded. The same way, they had given ridiculous money to the Lumumba guy when he was running KACC. Thank you. I think my time is up.
Thank you, George. I believe your question is well put. We'll wait for Eric to respond later on. Let's go to Eunice. Is your mic fixed? Right. Eunice, you seem to be having a serious issue with your mic. Kindly reinstall your app and see if that works. Jane, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you guys. So thank you so much, and thank you for the patience. I'm gonna echo George's sentiments here, because there seemed to be a really big disconnect, between the Mwananchi, the institutions, the politic leadership, right? And so when I hear you speak, the EACC, I hear you saying we are doing our job, right? We are doing our work. The only constraint here is like the EAC, the capacity to do the work, right? And so I think George's submission was, from one point, what is it that you need from a legality perspective? My question to you also is, what do you need from the citizens' perspective? If you can say these three things we need from the citizens, and when the Gen Z movement and the Kenyans in general are agitating for change, you also need to be agitating for these three things, right? And so that way, from the legislation perspective, it's working. From the citizens' perspective, it's working. But also, I want to understand, probably from you too, what are you doing from a digital perspective or technology perspective to help, help with, maybe automate processes? Because the biggest challenge, I heard you talk about is we don't have enough capacity, to look at all these corruptions cases, right? But also the disconnect is like, there is so many youth on the street saying, oh, we don't have jobs, right? We don't have jobs that to go to on a daily basis, but they have the technical know-how, they have the digital know-how, right? In a week, in a couple of days, some of these youth created, a website to recall ministers, and all of them were there with their constituency, right? And so there seemed to be a disconnect, just within even the country itself, saying, youth, you guys don't have jobs, so we look for jobs outside the country for you guys. But then the institutions like yours, and I have talked to a few people in different institutions, say, we do not have the people to do or to automate or to help, digitize, our institutions. So would you please maybe speak a little bit on that, right? The three things that the citizens can help, right? While also pushing for the legislature, and also, this disconnect between the technical, and the capacity. How can we bridge that gap with technology, to help expedite some of those things? Thank you so much, Mizani. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate your submission to that. Being warned here that we haven't been paid enough to stay online. It's a really kazi kwa wananchi, and it's free. Therefore, we will want to use our free bundles until 4 p.m. East African time. So to all the speakers, be mindful of that. Let's go to the next speaker, and then I will welcome Obed to steer ahead the conversation. Abdurrahman, you have 3 minutes maximum. Proceed.
And real quick, if I may interrupt, do you have a system through which we can help you stay alive, stay afloat by contribution towards your BADO payments?
I will talk to my colleague about that. But for now, we are very Kenyan, and we are allowing this conversation to happen free of charge. Thank you, George. That is very mindful of you. We appreciate. So let's have Abdul Rama.
Thank you so much. I want to let the EACC know that we appreciate for the times they have for us this afternoon, on a weekend, on a Sunday afternoon. I also want to let them know that we are engaged in a robust national discourse on the future of our country, and we don't expect them to pull us back. Pull us back because in the next course of weeks, in the next couple of weeks, we are having discussions, and corruption keeps coming up. Corruption keeps coming up in form of where we come from, public appointment. People have to pay for recruitment to security forces, whether it's the army or the police service. Corruption in the form of the universities, in hospitals, in tendering processes. And we need to exactly know what is ailing them, as opposed to coming and crying with us online when we are helpless as the Kenyans that have mandated them, and we pay taxes so that they can work. If it is constitutional timelines you want, because I know the discourse we are engaged in and the kind of future that we want for our country, there is no reason, and I don't see any stumbling block towards a constitutional amendment. Just like the healthcare is positioning themselves with formation of a healthcare service where they can centralize training and appraisals and hiring, firing, and allocation of healthcare workers to ensure efficiency in healthcare system and delivering good quality standards of healthcare for the Kenyans. We expect them to have a roadmap, not just telling us they are involved in a discussion with JLAC. We need them to have a roadmap of their vision of how they see themselves in the new Kenya that we want as the youth of this country, where they're having, if someone is suspected of corruption, or if someone is giving or receiving corruption, whether it's having prosecutorial powers like George mentioned, in having their jails, in having their prosecutors, in having their way of witness protection, in having their way of evidence preservation, and all that, to ensure that there is no short or there is no weak link between investigation and prosecution, and either acquitting or conviction of the people that are suspected. If it is reviewing including it in the capital offenses in the penal code, so that it becomes a capital offense for someone to steal money made for dams supposed to create water for millions of Kenyans. If it is ensuring that healthcare services are available in hospitals, if this is mass murder that people are involved, and we cannot give corruption or theft of public funds sweet names like, bribery, corruption. We need to call it like this is a genocidal terrorist individual involved in killing the future of people, the future of youth, the future of kids in school, instead of sugarcoating things and no mentioning and all this. Lastly, I want to talk about the wealth declaration forms, and I wanted Eric Gumbo to comment on it, because wealth declaration forms no longer work for public appointments in officials, because someone, if, for example, Miriam Rose is to be appointed for a CS position, she'll come and tell us, I've inherited this amount of land in our country, I have this car, I have this house, and I have all this. But then on the side, she we know her income through the monthly income, through the proceeds of maybe her rental income, her farm produce, if she exports products of that. But down the line, 2 months, 3 months, Miriam is wearing watches that cannot be sustained by her salary, and cannot be sustained by her whatever she declared. Then EACC is here telling us, it's because we do not have prosecutorial powers, because we are being hindered and all that. What magic is Miriam doing in that office where we know her salary is this, that she can afford to pay for a CS a watch that is equivalent to her 1 month salary? So we need to be creative in the way we measure how people progress without being malicious, obviously, for people that choose investments and all that. But we need to be creative in the manner that we capture how people progress in wealth. But again, we can have key indicators of this person, much as they are saying they are investing whatever they're having and loans they are taking against their pay slips. These people are engaged in when they are recruiting. If they're in charge of defense, they are recruiting. The recruits are paying this money, and this money is reaching to them. If they are hiring the people that are being hired in that ministry, or those state departments, their budgetary allocations, they have been instructed to have some allocations that is being deposited for this particular public official, and this is why they are doing to have this. And then lastly, I want to talk probably about the NIS. You might need to use the NIS. I don't know, for security reasons, maybe you may not expose this in your investigating work, but you could having those tigers that serve in ministries and in public offices, informing you and being key informants in the fight against corruption. But this is a narrative that we want in the next couple of weeks, as the rest of the country is fighting and saying the future they want. We do not expect EACC to be left there crying and telling us, we do not have a way out, we do not have anything we want to do. We expect a clear roadmap, a clear vision, a clear plan, a clear key interventions you want. If you want us to force MPs to change the law, if you want us to collect signatures to change the things that you need to be changed to fight corruption, it has to work, because our future depends on it, because it's our future that is being killed by people when money meant for basic necessities or amenities are reallocated for personal comfort and girlfriends and boyfriends. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Abdurrahman. Quite a wonderful submission. I see Mizani's hand is up, but before that, I have seen in the comment section, and I think I need to clarify this from the onset. Kingori, I know you're next. I wish to clarify this. There is someone who has for a long time been insisting that we have been paid to sanitize EACC. For the record, we did not invite EACC to this conversation, but we are grateful that they joined. And we are open to collaboration if that would help to change the direction our country is taking. The fact that somebody suggested we've been paid is totally neither here nor there. We are fighting for the best interest of our country. And if you feel you want to be paid, approach EACC or anybody else and ask them for pay. But do not try to malign us because we're trying to have a conversation that is important to our country. That said, I would like to invite Kingori for him to make his submission. He's been here for some time. Kingori, feel free to air your opinion.
Thank you so much. I just want to say a few things about the EACC, and my concern is the school capitation program that is sent by the government to schools. I have never heard or even witnessed anything to do with the EACC or any reports about the capitation, how is it being misused, embezzled in schools by the heads of institutions. And that is why you find that most schools are closing earlier than the government date, which has been announced by the ministry. Because the few days that are, now if a school is supposed to close on 5th, it closes on 1st. The remaining 4 days, which of course was budgeted for, I don't know where that budget goes. And I have never heard of EACC questioning why the expenditures on those few days that were remaining. Then again, the embezzlement that is in our schools is too high, because you will find that a principal is sent in a school, he has nothing, but after a few months, he's a millionaire. He is driving very, very serious vehicles, very expensive vehicles, high-end vehicles, high-end buildings are being built at their homes. And we didn't know the salary of a teacher. We know the salary of every civil servant. Even all of us here, we know the amount of money that is paid to each one of us, those who are working with the government, with the organizations, and anybody else. Now, the EACC should tell us how they monitor the school expenditures and how the safeguards that they have put in place to protect the whistleblowers, because the whistleblowers are so many, but they are they are not safe when they maybe say what is happening in various organizations and institutions. So let the EACC explain properly on how they monitor the capitation in schools, and again, how safe is a whistleblower when they communicate to EACC that there's something fishy happening in a particular that is organization. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I've seen, first of all, Kingori, you have a profile picture that is different from your voice. But that's beside the point. I would like EACC, Eric, if you can write down as many of these questions, because I give you an opportunity to answer most of them so that people feel like there's something that's being done. And as we said, we would really love to concretize this, have all the points that have been put across. We'll be able to channel them to you for further action if necessary and with your permission. I think the next person we have is Albert Nsengu has been here for some time. Then after Albert, I'll have Black Lion, then Joanita. Albert?
Thanks a lot, Obed. Nice space. Thanks a lot, Kama Kawaida, with Mizani and the team. I'll also want to pick from where George left on matters asking, is the constitution actually limiting the EACC to deliver their own mandate? I also will not want to cushion EACC. I think the responses we've gotten from from the spokesperson so far is a lot looking at the general public. It's like the normal way of talking to the public or giving a public lecture on how we should change our behavior or the norms of the society and how the office is actually working. But we can see that the office is not working because Waitito has been out of office for some time. The parliament or the Senate found them guilty, but he's not in jail. You know, that's the thing. So for us, it's what's the end product. I'll want to say that I think for me, the fish rots from the head. I'm drawing an example from a country like Rwanda, which is neighboring. They have a different way of doing things. They have a different way of tackling corruption. We have ministers in Rwanda in jail. It's not wishful thinking. They are called out of office because of any mere form of corruption, and they are put in jail. But I want to again refer to the EACC. In 2022, the director, of course, gave us a very good statement. 241 aspirants are not clean. They cannot run for office. All this becomes a public stunt because the same 241 people find themselves in parliament. Then they pass the conflict of interest bill so they can still do business with the government. So they keep cushioning themselves in those offices. So of course then the EACC's battle will be an exercise in futility because you'll be trying to chase people who are already cushioning themselves, who are laying laws that are actually cushioning themselves. Then I think that's why, and then my statement comes in line with George. Does the Constitution actually limit you to perform your mandate? Because we'll have one day, imagine a head of state coming and telling us we are losing 2 billion daily, and he's telling us he has nothing to do. Like, there's nothing he can do. So there's no political will, of course, to tackle this. So for me, the issue lies on political will. I see that EACC is in bed with the executive, is in bed with parliament, is in bed with public prosecution, and they take us in circles until the electoral cycle is over. See that EACC is in bed with the executive, is in bed with parliament, is in bed with public prosecution, and they take us in circles until the electoral cycle is over. Yeah, I think I'm sorry. You're unmuted.
Eric, please mute your mic because you keep interfering with the contribution.
Yeah, I'm actually just concluding. So for me, it's to actually point out. Okay, sorry.
Albert, just hold on. I think Eric, please mute your mic because you're interfering with Albert's contribution. Albert, go on.
Okay, thanks a lot. I'll just finish at that. Say political goodwill, and let's look back at the Constitution and see with all this Gen Z movement and the current political unrest in the country, do we have an output out of it? Are we going to amend the constitution and actually relieve all political offices, all this cushion that they have given themselves about doing business with government, and all these interlinkages between the bodies that should be actually putting them in check, but they find themselves actually working together with them? If you want to tell me the president already bought the Senate, the president has bought the parliament, all the political classes, he has even bought the opposition. You want to tell me the president is not clever enough to buy EACC or to buy all these public prosecutors? I think we have to be, it's counterintuitive, definitely. He knows that these are bodies that will be putting them in check, and definitely they are in bed with the executive, and this is what we are calling out. And I don't want, for me, this is what I want to finish at. If there's political goodwill in the country, like we see the example of Rwanda, ministers will be in jail. Corruption will be a thing of the past. And then the people down the scale, of course, there'll be a ripple effect. The population will learn that hard stance are taken about corruption, and if I'm found guilty, I will be jailed. So if Waititu was jailed, then I will not involve myself in corruption. But the moment Waititu is out, running around, doing normal businesses, and EACC is telling us, oh yeah, we've convicted them, we are in court. In court doing what? In court doing what when they are running around after stealing? After you telling us 241 of these people are not worth of offices, but they are still in office. They still went to the IBC and got elected. Then, of course, EACC's work is not relevant and should not be funded by the people's money. I drop it at that, Roberts. Asante.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Albert. Very pertinent questions. And Eric, as I requested, please try and note them down, because we're going to ask you to account, at least somewhat, allay the fears and be able to clarify some of the questions asked. Next, I'll go to Black Lion, then I go to Joanita. I'm trying to do this so that we allow Eric to be able to address as many of the questions as possible. And to the people waiting on, there's a long queue of people who would like to speak, and we totally understand. We're trying our level best to ensure that we allow as many people as possible to speak and make a contribution. So Black Lion, I give you 3 minutes max for you to canvass your point.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So I hope you can hear me, yeah? So
very well.
Yeah, thank you. So I think my problem at this point in time, we even don't need these guys like the EACC, because now you're here coming and telling us you're waiting for the DPP to prosecute these people. I feel like that's an excuse, you know. If the DPP is delaying the process, you bring these people to the public, we stone them to death. You cannot be fucking us every day. And clearly, even the public can do actually enough investigation and conclude this person is fucking up the country. But when you
Black Lion, I would request, we've always emphasized that on this space.
It's all right.
Try as much as you can agree to disagree with anyone, but do not use uncouth language. We do not allow that.
It's all right. It's all right. But at this time, like, we just want to be honest, because these people are playing us games. It is obvious. It is obvious. If the public can do actual investigation and see this is not good. This person is guilty. They have stolen public resources. But when you go back to the EACC, they're telling us, oh, we don't have this. There was no enough evidence. Oh, we handed over these people to the DPP, and that's how everything disappears like that. And the next thing you'll hear, there's another scandal coming up. We've forgotten the other one. Now there's another guy stealing money here. We start with a new case again. I'm saying this. These people have failed since you failed to recover stolen assets from people. There've been a lot of delayed prosecution, and the public even perception. People don't trust you no more. That's why I'm saying we just don't need you. Just resign and go. Maybe now let's now hand over the power to prosecute these people to the public. I bet you, bro, like the day we will get someone who stole the money from the public and we take him to the CBD, then we stone him to death or we chop his head. You'll never hear anyone stealing money again. That's how the things happening in China. You cannot steal money from the government like that. You will be finished. I bet you. Let us just use one as an example. We have enough evidence. This person stole money. Good. We take you to the CBD. You saw that, like the scenes during the Mandamano. We bring enough crowd like that. Then we deal with you ourselves. Because hii maneno nyinyi mnaweka vitu kwa EACC, mnaweka pande gani, and you guys are being paid, you're going to bed with the government. Mnakuja hapa kutuambia DPP ataki kufanya nini. We don't need you guys. We really don't need. We enough. This is enough. This thing is making people upset every day. Personally, I look at it like I have friends who work in the government, young guys. You see someone buying apartments here in Kilimani, and you start wondering, bro, seriously, I know your salary is not actually even enough to buy a Vitz, but you cannot tell me you're buying apartment in Kilimani, penthouses of 30 million. Where are you getting the money from? You see, and actually, like it happens like. Every person right now coming to the government, they know I can steal money and I can bribe and get away with it. Including probably even these guys from EACC. They've been given money and si wako tu hapa wananyamaza tu wanajifanya wanatetea haki ya watu. God is watching you people, by the way. That's what I'll say. Thank you, bro.
Thank you, Black Lion. You've said so many things, and I'm laughing because part of what you're saying is very true. We actually need to have an example of somebody has to be dealt with. Let us see big people punished. That way, a lot of us would worry about getting and engaging in corruption. And I think I totally agree with you. The way you suggest is probably the one that's making me laugh. That can be looked into. Let me allow Juanita to canvass your point, please. I give you 3 minutes max.
Very good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity, Mizani and Obed. First and foremost, I'd like to suggest, to say, the corruption in Kenya started way back, and it's not even corruption. I'll agree to Dr. Akuro, it's not something we started yesterday, it's something way back. Because the theft in our country, it's too much. When we go back to the era of our first president, the second president, the third president, those corruption cases have been there all along. And what has been done to those people? Nothing has been done. Nothing has ever happened to it. So where does the corruption in the country continue? It's because the people way back were never convicted, and currently they are not being convicted. So, something else I'd like to say is that in Kenya, I'm sorry to say so, it's like run by a cartel or a mafia, because the kind of politicians we put in power are the politicians who have something to hide. So what do they do? They enter into politics to hide something. This is something they did before, and they are now into power to continue hiding whatever they've done before. We look at the cases of our current president. He was mentored by the late President Moi. In his era, in President Moi era, it was like rolling with our fist, and that's what we are currently kind of like going back. But even in those years, there are cases if we date back. During that era, the current president still have things he did in that era, and he's in this regime right now. He's the current sitting president. What is going on? What is that telling us? That's telling us that the Kenya we are in currently, big executives or big people are not convicted for their crimes. This gives opportunity to the current to this thing continuing, like the corruption, the theft, everything continuing. So unless we deal with the mafia, the cartels inside this thing, no matter what we do, no matter even if we try to tell the EACC to deal with the cases, it can never happen. So something else is, these people are on top of the government. The EACC have, the guy Eric have said that they don't have the power. For them, they would really wish for them to continue with everything. But the people on the top, what are the top people saying? Like, what do? They are the ones that holding these people. They're like, hey, you cannot convict me. You cannot convict me. I'm a government official. I just give you money and life goes on. And that's the chain we are experiencing in Kenya currently. Nothing we can do can eradicate corruption. The only thing that can eradicate corruption is if we get a president or a leader who's fearless and ready to open the Pandora of corruption cases dated years back in our country, because there are many. And if you revive our memory, some people will be shocked. They've been in previous governments, they're in current governments, and some people we even don't know much about them. We'll be given people we've never had in our lives. Why? Because that Pandora, these are the people who are running the government in our country. They are hiding information in our country so that they cannot be taken front. So the moment we get that leader who's ready to face these people, it's the time we'll be able to fight corruption in Kenya. The theft, it's not even corruption, it's the theft. But until then, I'll tell you my honest opinion, corruption in Kenya will continue being there because this, yes, Nam, just a minute.
Joanita, thank you very much. And there are quite a number of things you have said there. What we need to probably engage and look at ourselves is maybe we are the ones who elect these people. They don't come to power by themselves. We know they are corrupt. We still vote for them. But just for clarity, I need to find out something. Mizani, we said we are finishing at 4, but I don't think it's going to be practical because we have 7 minutes to 4. Should we continue, use our free bundles for as long as it can be? Because then I think there's clearly an issue here and a lot of people would like to contribute. What do you think?
I will consult with the team, but I still maintain it was important we end this in the next 6 minutes. However, the reality does not allow us to go with 6 minutes to the top of the hour. So what we will do, we will allow Eric to respond to some of the questions that have been raised. And guys, remember, Eric is doing this because it is his national duty as a public officer. But at the same time, if we have such an opportunity, it is in the best of our interest to bring out the facts as much as we have emotional attachments to what we are presenting. So it is not about what Eric is saying, but it's about what his institution that he represents has to be doing and in which way should we understand how it functions. That is important. Having cleared that, I will give you some more latitude, Obeds, to continue with the conversation, but we are admitting more speakers. So the speakers that are there will be able to execute their matters, and hopefully we'll be able to land in about more 30 minutes on top of the hour. Thank you.
Okay, I'm guided thoroughly so. I know there are so many people and I can actually see a lot of them requesting. We'll review and see how that goes. The next speaker here should be Sangomai, I think. Sangomai, then I'd have 255.
Maybe let's allow Eric to respond first. There are quite a number of issues they have been raising.
Okay.
It will be prudent for him to maybe he has other commitments. Yes.
That's okay. Eric, unmute and probably try and address some of the questions that have been asked.
Okay. Thank you very much. I do appreciate those comments that are coming through. Some of the issues that have been raised have already been responded to, but I appreciate that it is possible that some listeners may not have been there when we started. I have repeatedly said that the problem of corruption in Kenya is way beyond EACC, which is one of the institutions in the chain. I have repeatedly said that when we are discussing the problem of corruption, we need to look at it from a broader perspective, acknowledging that even if today if today EACC was to do 100% of what it is supposed to do, that alone would not be sufficient. And therefore, the questions that Kenyans should always interrogate when talking about corruption in the country are, for instance, could there be obstacles to effective investigation of corruption? Are there obstacles to effective prosecution of corruption cases? Are there obstacles in the adjudication of corruption at the judiciary? So that even those who say disband, then they should say disband EACC, disband on DPP, disband the judiciary. So the singling out of EACC is unfair, and that means that there could be lack of information in terms of the institutional framework. Those three agencies ought to and are expected to seamlessly undertake their responsibilities, because each has a role, then it hands over to the other. But as I said earlier, what we need is to strengthen these institutions, because the volume of corruption cases emanating from the public officials that we Kenyans elected to office and those appointed to office at the county level, at the national level, the volume of cases is more than the available institutional capacity at DPP, at EACC, and the judiciary. And EACC is not crying. So I want to correct the one who said the EACC is not crying. We are not crying because a lot of work has been done. And I mentioned, and I want to repeat, that every year EACC is able to recover and return to the public an average of 6 billion Kenya shillings of property, and also prevent potential loss of up to 12 billion, money that could have been lost, but we stop the transactions. We dismantle the cartels before money is lost, that is 12 billion, against an average annual budget of 3.9. EACC is able to provide or finalize 100 files, high impact files. So let us not look at the problem in terms of what has EACC done. In fact, we are also supposed to ask ourselves, what have we done as Kenyans? After EACC flagged out and they told the people of Kenya, look here, these 241 people have corruption cases, and they may still, if they go to public office, and they may enact poor laws if they go to parliament. Don't elect them. A third of them were elected. So Kenyans also have a responsibility. And it is important for everyone to ask themselves, what have I done also? I talked about professional bodies whose members, engineers, lawyers, are the ones that are assisting our people in the counties to loot. What have we done? What are we doing within the professional standards, the enforcement of professional standards within those professions? So each party, each person has a role in that cause. One of the listeners suggested that, we get corrupt people and chop their heads, or, put them somewhere on Uhuru Park and shoot them. That is not what our country is supposed to do, because we are a country that is guided by the rule of law. Every person is also entitled to due process. I know Kenyans want to see urgent action. I appreciate, and we appreciate, the problem of corruption is widespread. But again, that has to be within some due process. Because again, it is only 30% of cases reported to EACC that are worth taking to the next stage. There are people who report matters that are actually not corruption. And I can authoritatively tell you, listeners, that a bigger part of what Kenyans think about corruption is informed by perceptions. So I would encourage all of us to always familiarize ourselves with the information that is available about what has been done and what the issues are. In terms of a clear vision, somebody talked about a clear vision for fighting corruption. EACC has a strategic plan covering 2023 to 2028. And you would find a very good plan, which is operationalized through just annual plans. Someone mentioned that it should be in jail. We can't go and get people, send them to jail directly. Waititu is among 10 governors that have cases in court, both criminal and civil, cumulatively following billions. The billions that are being recovered and returned to the public daily, perhaps we should have another way of, returning, so that what is recovered is channeled to, probably some property, maybe some school, so that Kenyans can be told, look here, this school was built by money that had been stolen from this place and this place, so that Kenyans can feel the impact. But a lot has been done. It's only that what remains to be done is much more. And for us to go where we want to go as a country, it is not about EACC alone. We even had cases where, sometimes in this spirit of accountability, EACC has opposed some cases that were being withdrawn in court. So institutions also check each other. We need to move to a situation where we also strengthen oversight agencies, such as the Auditor General, and the other one is control of budget. These offices routinely make recommendations on what needs to be done. But again, how far can those recommendations go when they do not have an attendant, effective enforcement mechanism? Let recommendations of key offices not be wishes. Institutions should be able to bite. EACC will continue to take up cases from Auditor General and investigate them. Currently, we've quite a number of files that have been completed. The COVID file was completed. It is undergoing the next step at the DPP. We have cases involving governors, former CSs and others. We are doing lifestyle audits on the top level officials, including some that you are talking about here. So this fight is on course. It needs to be strengthened. And we need every stakeholder, including every Kenyan, to take up their responsibility. Let me talk about corruption in the county governments. I think that has also come through. A county assembly, and the reason why we have county assemblies today is not just to represent the people who elected them. They also have oversight role on how public resources are used. One of the reasons why we have what one may want to call high levels of corruption in the counties is because our county assemblies have not effectively done what they are supposed to do. Majority of them do blackmail their governors for trips. They blackmail their governors to get tenders to do roads within those counties. So we cannot have EACC in every institution and in every county checking all those things. We need what entities should do done so that EACC is now dealing with those who are not able to do their work well. For example, when you talk about budgeted corruption in the counties, what has emerged from the pattern of investigations is that a county assembly committee would collude with chief officers of state departments and plan and allocate money for projects that have either been done, a road that has been done many times, a social hall that has been constructed several times, or a project that is not intended to be done. When that money comes, what happens? Immediately after getting approval from the controller of budget to make payment, those transactions are avoided, money removed through proxy companies. So that is why we have thousands of county officials in court. So if a county assembly was to effectively ensure that funds are not mismanaged on the other side, by first of all removing their interest, because now if every MCA wants to be the one constructing roads, how are they going to do oversight on the other side? How are the county assembly committees going to vet nominees to those offices of CEC and the rest? When EACC writes and says that, look here, this person who you want to clear to be the county secretary has these issues. So the county government can perform better if county assemblies were to be effective on the oversight role, because we are talking about financial management. And that's why I want listeners, you take into account that the role of EACC is minimal in the whole equation of fighting corruption. Under the Public Finance Management Act, every accounting officer has a responsibility to ensure that the money is used well through effective internal controls. So by the time EACC is coming, there is so much that these people should do. And that is why we are calling for effective leadership at every institution. Because if we have heads of institutions that are committed to accountability with the clear mechanisms of holding them to account in the law, then they would be able to prevent some of these things from happening. County assemblies should take up their role beyond representation, the accountability aspect. But now if they are dysfunctional and, they have merged and become one thing with the executive, that presents a challenge in the whole question. The other issue in the counties is recruitment, and that is where we expect county public service boards and the assembly service boards to also do their bit. We are talking about ghost workers today. In most cases, it is collusion involving all the relevant actors, so that it's after several years that you are able to say, "Oh, we have 1,000 ghost workers that have been working here." Isn't it there an individual employee working there who can blow the whistle and say, "This is happening"? We do have matters, and many of them involving payroll fraud in the counties, because most of those payrolls in the counties are not clean. We have persons who don't report to work, and yet they are paid. So those are the issues that we are dealing with. Many of them are in court, others under investigations, others at the DPP. So there is action. It's only that the volume of what needs to be done is more than what is available in terms of capacity. And the fact that an individual has done this, has bought this watch, or they've done this, the fact that, action has not yet been taken, it does not mean that, EACC is not independent, or the commission is not focusing on everybody. Whoever has stolen public money will be brought to account.
Thanks,
and
Eric.
let us have everybody do their bit.
I like what you've put across, but I think also maybe the messaging from the commission hasn't been very good, and probably that's why the public doesn't feel like it's working with you. However, I'll have you hold on a little bit there, so that we have an input from three or four. There are 4 people. There's Sangomai, then I have 254 for life. I'm sorry, but I've got to do this 2 minutes strictly. Sangomai, and then 254 for life, and then Jojo, and then Kijana ya Uhuru parody. So, Sango, 2 minutes, please.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak. It may be the first time I'm getting an opportunity to contribute in an express, and I'll be very brief. I'll ask Eric from EACC the following. 1, on recruitments, for example, in our forces, that is KDF, Kenya Police, Administration Police, KWS, Prisons, and Forest Service, among others. You will see an advertisement, or it is announced that there will be recruitment of 10,000 or 5,000 policemen or KDF. When the recruitment teams are going around the country, and this is a real case, we have like 250 or 270 recruitment centers. They will take 1 person in this center, 3 in that center, 2 in this center. When you calculate the number of people taken from the many centers, they will be less than 1,000. Yet, whether it's Kiganjo, whether it is RTS in Eldoret, or the other recruitment centers, whether it's at Utawala, you will have the 5,000 people recruited and doing the training, and they will pass out. Where are the other people being taken from? Kenyans are complaining because they are missing the opportunities to join these forces competently because of people who go to those recruitments without following procedure. They are not taken at the recruitment centers. These recruitment slots are shared in offices, which EACC has never brought out and shown where these people are coming from. You will imagine, you will see someone, a conman, just like EACC has said the people from Kitui who were arrested the other day for going to arrest someone when they are not from EACC. Someone is arrested for giving fake recruitment letters, but those who join those recruitment centers without coming from the centers are never brought to book. But we see other people who are not even officers being. The EACC has to tell us how this is happening. Kenyans, that's why the Gen Z, I'm a millennial myself, that's why the Gen Zs are on the streets, and mostly they are not alone. They are with the others. They are with the millennials and their parents. The second issue I'll go to is EACC.
Give it 30 seconds to
Thank you.
finish.
EACC offices. It is true that some of the officers at EACC use their offices to enrich themselves or threaten, intimidate people from different departments, counties, national government to make money. And this one, I'm sorry, I will come straight. I will go to the EACC office based in Malindi. That office is minting money. You can ask to get information. They keep on inviting. They serve Kilifi County, Lamu County, and I believe Tana River County. What does that office do? They keep on calling people on issues repeatedly so that they make money. Even issues that are not at the purview of EACC, they keep on doing that so that they make money.
Thank you.
And
so much,
just
Sango.
allow me
Thank you
another
so
10
much, Sango.
seconds for the last this issue. County assemblies and what is happening in county assemblies, they are not being investigated because it is the executives mostly that are followed, but not assemblies. We are not seeing people from assemblies mostly being prosecuted. And again, those in.
Thank you, Sango. Thank you, Sango. I hate to do this, but it's because we're really
Thank you.
running
Let
out
me
of time.
close at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope, Eric, you've picked out what has been said. 254 for life, strictly 2 minutes, please.
Thank you, Obeds. I'd like to be very brief, and I'd pose a challenge to Eric of EACC. First, I believe my point of view is that as a spokesperson, yes, he's done a very good job telling us what EACC has done. But the feeling of the citizenry is that EACC has not done much and it's still not doing as much as we expected. So a point of advice, that would be one thing you need to look at. On the question bit, I'd like to challenge him on actually two direct questions. One is there is evidence and video footage, even on mass media, local media, that one MP, Oscar Sudi, had been giving 20 million to a Harambe. So I hope EACC is looking into that, and that's a challenge for him. We'd like to see what they would do about that, because I think it needs to be investigated from the onset that a sitting member of parliament, who we know what his salary is, cannot afford 20 million, but yet he keeps giving it out as Harambe money. Number two is also a challenge to him, because I know he says that they are committed to the fight. I'd also like to see an effort into an investigation, specifically for the president, because he's committed to funding the constructions of churches, and that is this morning. So I'd like to see some effort into investigating where all this money is going to come from, or whether all these harambes that have been done in the last 12 months, because there have been a couple, where the money has come from and where the money is going to, specifically investigating both the churches and the executive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, 254. Jojo, it's your turn to speak.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Jojo Shukali. I'm a comedian. After going to school, getting 5 degrees, I did not have a trust in the system at all. This system, the entire system, is a system of thieves, with a chief thief on top, Luto, who also do not seem to understand the mood. How does a company like Walmart, with thousands and thousands of employees, run without corruption happening, without the CEO being on the register? That's what I've been asking. I came to Nyeri the other day. All the municipal hall where I did my halabe to go to United States for higher learning, it's been closed. You find mature men taking a piece besides the building. Alec from EACC, you are a complicit. I am a complicit. We are trying to fight something that is inside us. We are so corrupt, and we have allowed it to happen. And the effects of this goes back to the children and those who are being born. We have made money to be God. Ruto, you have given the defense of Kenya to Somalia. That's why we are having this kind of butchery. Kenya, we don't butcher people like the way you butcher people and put them in sacks. The corruption, we need to have a degree in corruption. Screw all these other subjects in schools. Let's have a degree in corruption. It is how best can you steal? Eric, you are complicit. You know, I'm a complicit too. We are looking at a mirror and we are lying to ourselves. What do? Chinese theorem. Go back to zero. Because Kenya is a heap of trash. We are looking at a mirror and we are lying to ourselves. I love you all. But I want to say this. Anybody who does not understand the mood of the time, everything needs to change. We need to go back to zero. There is too much stealing. You can't get a passport. You can't get an ID. You can't even take shit in the city without paying for it. Where are we headed? We need to change, each and every one of us. And if we don't change, we are going to perish. Thank you, EACC, for what you are doing. You are doing a lot of work, but still there is much more to be done. But the number one thing, Duale, you committed a genocide. Nordin Haji, you committed a genocide in Githurai and other places. You are still abducting our young people. They are still in jail. Release these people and let's go back to square one and move Kenya and Africa ahead. Thank you. I love you all.
Thank you, Jojo. Thank you very much. A lot of passion in there and some few curse words, but it is what it is. We apologize to anyone who was offended by that. Kijana ya Uhuru Parody, please. Your turn, 2 minutes strictly.
Thank you very much. First of all, I wanted to correct my brother here, Jojo, for saying that President Ruto has given the cabinet secretary for defense to Somalia. Aden Wale is a Kenyan citizen, same as Nordin Haji. And my point is, there is something I shared here. I contacted EACC and their email, that is report at EACC on 5th May 2023. That's approximately 1 year and something. And up to date, EAC have never responded to my email or asking me for any further information or a response to my at least concern. So I want to ask Eric, a representative of EACC, is that, and how do you want us, the citizens in the ground, to contact you if you really want to work for us? Is there any other way we can contact you if the email that is in your portal and in your Twitter, the link, if you follow the link, you'll find your email there. If you are not responding to the people, or why have you not responded to whatever I've written for you there? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kijana Uhuru. It's a very, very pertinent question, because if he wants support from the public, or they want support from the public, and they're not responding to the questions that are being posed, or suggestions, or things that are a problem, then I think it doesn't make any sense us having this conversation in the first place.
I want to add something. If I've not used my 2 minutes, I know I've just used 1 minute of my time. Let me add something else. Whatever I was talking about is a member of parliament from Garissa, that is Fafi constituency. He has been using the CDF fund for, I don't know how, but majority of the people and the youth in the universities, and they are not receiving any bursary. So if at least they could go there, they will get more information. And there's something I have raised there, if you just see what I've written there. So it is that person, his name is Salah Yakub. He's an MP from Fafi. If they wanted to know more information, I will share. So that's my point. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Eric, take note of that. I've seen the hands of Jean-Lea Njoroge, and I've also seen Miriam. Miriam, strictly, Jan, Leah, I give you a minute,
Yes.
strictly a minute, and then
Yeah.
Miriam, so that we
Yeah.
we
And
close.
it's just 1 minute, and I hear, Eric, I think your name is Eric from EACC, your submission, but I think you keep coming back to the volume of what needs to be done is a lot, right? The volume of what needs to be done is a lot. And for me, I think the disconnect here is like, if the volume of what needs to be done is a lot, and we have a lot of youth that is doing a lot of nothing, right? Where is this disconnect? Can we get the youth, train the youth to help from a digital perspective, technology, right, to accelerate some of these things? So that I think is what my disconnect is happening. But because we can bring technology, and we can engage the technology community, and I'm happy to help facilitate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan Leah. That's very good. Miriam, you have your minute, and then I come
Yeah.
to George. After that, we should be closing.
Cool, thank you. I was actually hoping you would be there when I was making my submissions, because I'm reiterating what I was saying in the morning about normalizing bringing agencies onto such platforms so that Kenyans can actually direct their concerns to them and also hear some of the things we've learned from EACC. And I like how you had to sanitize yourself, see how quickly this thing can flip on us. But you see, this is the reason why it's important to normalize this. And then the other issue is on perception, what Eric talked about, perception on the ground. And again, I'll repeat what I said. If you don't, I have had so much new information today. I just seated on my bed on a Sunday afternoon. If I have had new information today, how do you expect a mama mboga down there or a farmer to get this information and not to vote for, let me give an example of Waititu over and over again. I live in the village. When Waititu was being re-elected, I remember actually asking people, why are you electing him? And you know he was corrupt. People are like, it doesn't matter. Like, corruption wins. And the thing of psychology of people, they will go with what empowers them. And what we need to change that rhetoric. You mentioned, and I know you were saying it in jest, should you build schools with the proceeds that you recover? And some people said, yes, you should, because you're the one who needs to take the driver's seat and control the rhetoric and the perception of the people by putting this information in their hands. Everything you said today, one last thing, everything you said today, I just hear you crying and crying wolf. There's nothing you're actually doing. Put this information in the hands of the people who need this information so that they can know what's going on. Use these proceeds to put billboards, put posters everywhere of Linturi and all these people, and all these people that you have called to order, like the people who are corrupt, like the land commissioner. Put that information in the hands of the people, because that's where it matters. The Larry demonstrations made a difference within 24 hours because the people are the ones who have the power. But if you keep it in EACC offices, don't come complaining about perception. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. I agree. Actually, we need to, and I agree with you totally, that we need to have posters of the people who are just socially stigmatize them and make it difficult for them to appear anywhere in public. We did that. You saw what happened to this MP who talked badly, I think, about butchering 5,000 Kenyans. And he went to White Sands Hotel and he was removed from the hotel. That's what we need to do. Socially stigmatize these people and make it difficult for them to do. So before I come to Eric so that he gives the final responses to everything that has been asked, I'll allow George to have his contribution. I think that'll be the end. After that, we have Eric, and then we will close the space.
100% on what Miriam just said. 100% on what Miriam just said. And I reiterate the point. What powers do you need to perform your duties? Whether it's budgetary powers or legislative powers, laws in your favor, or an amendment in the Constitution, so that you are performing as a system and not a part of politicians. And the point that Miriam just made, that's how FBI flourish, by keeping alive a list of 10 most wanted criminals all over the world. And they attach a reward for the information leading to these people's arrest. So if you are having a case in court, let's say of Waititu, and there are some things that you cannot investigate those informations through your system, then you incentivize regular wanaichis by giving them a bonus for volunteering the information. People who are career civil servants who are being forced to do these dirty deals on behalf of politicians and government officials, they would volunteer the information because they know where the skeletons are hidden. So I reiterate one more time, and I really would want for you, Mr. Eric, to answer this question. What powers are missing in the budgetary, in the legislative, and constitutionally, so that you are operating independent of the influence of politicians and the government?
Thank you so much, George. That's very, very good questions. Eric, I give you the opportunity. I'll give you some time. I'll give you up to a maximum of 7 minutes to be able to canvass all the issues asked. Then after that, we'll start to look at how we close this space. But thank you so much for finding time. We didn't invite you here, and for the record, that's very important. He joined because I think this is a matter to do with corruption, and it's important probably for him to clarify. So grateful that you are here. Clarify on those issues, then we end this space. Paula, I can see you amongst the listeners. If you can, please come up to the mic because we need to close the space, and we'd appreciate to have your final word.
Do I proceed?
Yes, Eric, feel free.
Yeah, thank you, Mizani. And it is true that we were not part of this conversation, but when we noted that it was happening, we found it necessary to join and enrich the discussion by providing information. A number of questions have been put to me, as well as comments. I want to confirm that we have our team that is also taking down the comments that are in the form of suggestions on reform. But to clarify what has been asked and respond to the questions from listeners, I'll say the following. One, to the listener who said that he sent an email that is yet to be responded to, my response is that we usually acknowledge receipt of the email communication that comes, but sometimes people expect us to start discussing the merits of the matter with it. You know, you acknowledge that you have received a report and you will act. You know, people start saying, okay, so when do I expect this? What about this? Can you also do this? The wife is also doing this. When we do that, we interfere with the investigation process. So in the event that that email was not responded to, I will be interested to find out why. You may probably not have used, the correct email. I will check, and then we'll pick it from there. When we finalize the investigations, we don't, all the time go back to the reporters and tell them that this is what happened, because, we report to the DPP for the next action, and there are cases where we get back if we need information. So if there is a matter you have reported to us, you are yet to see a response, engage us. The commission is usually very receptive. We work very, very closely with the media. They get information on what is happening and they disseminate it. We are available on social media platforms. Yesterday, we opened a Twitter account to engage you more. I will be happy if you follow us because we'll be sharing a lot of information there. So on communication, we've picked that point. And if there's a specific issue, get in touch with us and we'll respond to it. There is a passionate question from one of us in terms of what exactly is required to remedy gaps in the legal and institutional frameworks. One, I begin from where somebody stopped when they talked about the wealth declaration. Kenya has a wealth declaration system, and that system helps the commission because when we are doing a lifestyle audit, when we are investigating unexplained wealth, we always make reference to the wealth declaration forms. But I must clarify that if there is an area that requires urgent legal reform, is Kenya's wealth declaration system. Because currently, that wealth declaration system, and when we discuss challenges, sometimes I hear people calling it crying. It is not crying. It is sharing with the Kenyans the areas that require reform, so that when you engage your MP, you request them to look into these areas. So the Kenya's wealth declaration system is largely moribund in the sense that it does not have provisions that make it easy to use that form, to use the forms to investigate. But nevertheless, the forms play a certain role in our investigation of unexplained wealth. One of the challenges is access. When public officers declare wealth after 2 years, those forms, as per the current law, remain confidential. Anybody wanting to access it has to write to entities called responsible commissions that are designated for various officers. Like people working in ministries, we have the PSC. People working in parliament, we have the Parliamentary Service Commission. You write there, explaining why you want to access the form. The individual is given an opportunity to respond, to say whether or not they are willing to allow EACC their form. A long process. So one of the reforms required there is to have direct access of these forms by law enforcement agencies. And that is one of the provisions in the conflict of interest bill currently pending before Parliament. And that is why we wanted it retained. Secondly, people under investigations. The law under Section 62 requires that one is suspended only after they take plea in court. You have seen EACC championing the idea of suspension pending investigations. Because if you are investigating a CEO, that is a person with the custody of the documents that you want to investigate them. If it is a procurement scandal, you expect him to avail those documents. The witnesses you require, the informers are people under the supervision of those people. That is why EACC has been championing the idea of suspension of officers while an investigation is ongoing so that they don't interfere with the process. Currently, that is not what the law is. So when we talk about legal reform, is having provisions of that nature. But I know others have said, okay, what if people against an individual give false reports and people are suspended when there isn't much? Our recommendation to the National Assembly as a provision to take care of those situations, that suspension can be subjected to, a court assessment, so that if we feel that somebody needs to be suspended, we ask the court to examine what's available and then, allow that. The other key reform area is on the reform recommendations that EACC makes to public entities, recommendations that are made by Auditor General and others. If these recommendations that are aimed at sealing loopholes that allow corruption are left to be implemented, based on the goodwill of the head of an institution, that cannot be effective. And you cannot blame EACC for that. Because if EACC, for example, today has already given 28 counties corruption risk assessment reports showing what can be done to end corruption completely in those counties. Meaning that if those reports were implemented today, there will be no more corruption in those counties. But the law, as is now, does not have an enforcement mechanism. So the reform required there is making those recommendations of EACC binding. The other reform area is in respect to appointment. So that if EACC undertakes vetting and informs a recruiting agency or a CS or any other authority that a person has integrity issues that are outstanding, such as a case in court, that should be binding, because many times those recommendations are not complied with. Again, that is not crying, it is explaining the situation as is. So those are the legal reforms that are required to strengthen what the EACC does. The other thing is in respect to sanctions for corruption. I know some commentators have argued that we can introduce minimum sentences for corruption, such as the case in what is it? The Sexual Offences Act. I know others have said that, okay, when you do that, you take away the discretion of the magistrate. But these are, technical issues and a debate that is still ongoing. But from where we sit, making the sentences stiffer, I think that can deter corrupt conduct more. Some have said that, okay, instead of the fines, why can't we have a pure custodial sentence? Those are suggestions. But what I want to emphasize is timelines. If the law is also amended to create timelines within which these cases should be heard and finalized, and then resources provided. Because you can say that cases are supposed to take 6 months, but you don't have enough judges, enough prosecutors, and enough investigators. So that should go hand in hand with strengthening those institutions. The other one, and I mentioned this, Chapter 6 of the Constitution is such a good law that can help end impunity and the corruption in our motherland. But again, without attendant enforcement mechanisms in the form of a proper enabling legislation, the provisions under Chapter 6 remain wishes. Because what we have under the leadership, under the Integrity Act, is not sufficient. And I know majority of those who are here are aware of that. If, for example, we say that for you to be barred from elections on the account of integrity, you must have exhausted avenues for appeal. Honestly, integrity is not about criminal prosecution. There are other issues, ethical issues, how one behaves in the community, etc. Another one talked about schools and, the money sent to schools. How do we protect that? A number of cases where theft has taken place have come to us. We have acted on some. But again, back to what I said, 80% of the things that require to be done to end corruption within institutions just require administrative controls. And for that to happen, the man or woman at the helm, PS, CS, must do what they are supposed to do. Governors should put in place mechanisms to ensure that money is not stolen. We still have counties that are using manual systems deliberately. We have others that even after procuring automated revenue management systems are now stealing within those systems, and the EACC has now entered those systems also. Watu wanaimba ndani ya hiyo mtandao, having people with the super user rights to alter revenue data. So this gives you the picture that the 700 people at EACC require support from every Kenyan in order to address the widespread corruption in various institutions. And as I conclude, the people who steal public resources are not from us.
Is it me or we've lost Eric?
I believe we've lost him. But
So, Ms.
most
Ani,
of the things we wanted to cover have been already covered. So I don't know. I'll get back to you. Let's try if we have Eric, the last call.
Eric? Okay, Mizani, what I think is I've even been sent something on the DM.
You can hear me?
Somebody has.
You
Now
can hear
we
me?
can hear you, Eric.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes,
moving
now we can.
forward, I want to suggest that multi-sectoral approach where EACC is doing its bit, every sector doing their bit, and the private sector also. The private sector fuels corruption in the public sector. How are they able to do in terms of self-regulation to reduce the instances of corruption? Finally, I want us to acknowledge that corruption is perhaps the biggest threat that we have as a country because it affects all the other issues. You have heard of buildings collapsing because some procedure was not followed. Some engineer, in a county approved things. EACC could not have been in all those areas. That is why we need every person to do their bit. The deaths that arise from collapsing of buildings have something to do with the corruption.
Eric.
On the roads, listeners, the final one, on the roads,
Eric,
there is something that people call minor. If today,
Hold on, Eric. Hold on.
okay,
Sorry to interrupt.
okay.
What I'm asking is asked about recruitment to the forces, KDF and the police. Is there
Yes.
anything you guys are doing on that part?
In terms of those recruitments, when the process starts, our intelligence teams usually monitor what is happening. And if you have been following the developments, you have seen us, getting many people, arresting individuals. But in most cases, unless there is a way of getting it, there are those that escape, particularly where they are initiated by parents, because we have parents who sell property and they themselves induce the officers, so that we have a situation where two people, there's no complainant, two people have agreed on something and they execute it. So not all cases of that nature reach us. So we also want to
Pardon me, I can't hear Eric. Can you, Obed? All right, we can't hear you. So
you can't hear me.
All right. I think, Eric, you're receiving calls that are interrupting. Maybe just make it very quick, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I was saying that it is important that when Kenyans experience situations where corruption has taken place, you can always quickly notify us, because it is not every time we are able to automatically know what has happened somewhere. So if Kenyans could have the culture of also reporting and exposing corrupt conduct, it can help us a lot. We have an anonymous reporting system on our website. If you go to eacc.go.ke, you will be prompted to report corruption. That will help us. If you engage us through our regional offices across the country, we will always act on your reports the way we do. And sometimes when you have these conversations, you need information. It is important to discuss things based on actually accurate information. We are open and we can always give such information as one may require. If there is something I'm not addressed, we can still engage even away from this platform after it's done. I think that's all, unless I've left something.
I think Obeds and Mizani, before Eric quickly goes, Eric, I would honestly, and I've really wanted to request for this mic to ask you very two specific questions. I want to make it a story. They'll be very direct. So my first question is, I've heard you overly mention county governments. I've rarely heard you speak on the national government. So is the focus of looking at corruption overly, probably focused on county governments? Because I've really had challenges, you citing anything that is happening, especially the national government, having that's where the biggest budget in my own view, and even major corruption cases happen. So we thank you guys, yes, for what you're trying to do on the county governments, but I would really like to see the same zeal and hear examples being cited of what you're doing in the national government. You also mentioned about the reports, the risk reports you send to governors. Do you send the same to the president and all these other institutions within the executive at national government level? My second question and last question would be, the money that you guys recover that is from corruption, where is that money taken, and who is mandated to perhaps know that money is actually being taken back to the rightful players or offices to be used in the right manner and not even stolen when it's being returned? So I think, to me, those would be very important questions of interest. And probably finally, what is EACC doing? Does it have a mandate to also educate the populace on what is actually expected? I've seen you have things like National Integrity Academy to train your staff, integrity education. What are you doing in your master plans or program of work to also educate the public on most of the areas you violated on this space? Thank you.
Thank you. I could directly answer the question.
Eric,
just give me a minute. Eric,
did
just give
not
me a minute.
respond to it. The numbers recruited at the recruitment centers does not match the numbers in the training schools for officers. Where do these other officers come from? It is not a matter of parents corrupting for their children to get into those offices. The issue is the recruitment is announced for 5,000. Those recruited at the centers are 1,000. Where do the others come from? And how comes we don't see any prosecutions or what happens? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Eric. Sometimes I want to engage in an area that I'm not involved in. For example, when it comes to police recruitment, I have known one person who was a high jumper, who at then being high jumper was told to go to the local station, to go to the recruitment center. You will be hired. But now there are people over there who perform, but now they need that talent, and he was hired for that, but now he is hired on a special talent position. Let me not talk about that. This issue about EACC that I have, because there was so many questions that are withdrawn and something, and it has been used politically to ruin careers of people. Like, for example, Kimunya in 2008, they were going beyond. There was Grand Regency and there was Safaricom. You remember Kimunya must go. Kimunya has never been charged for that question. It does not mean that Kimunya is clean. He has other cases, but at the end of the day, the investigation and the report, you can't charge somebody where he was above board. We know that. We know Kimunya was clean. It was political. It has been said. Even the Sonko one, his cases, I'm not saying is clean, but it came out later because the senator said we are going to impeach him. This guy was clean, to the extent that they were impeaching him. But that's why I have issues with EACC sometimes. Now, EACC, you want to tell us you're above board, you are very transparent and everything. Why is it that when you advertise position, you are not like other organizations that publishes the list of the people who you are going to hire, the qualification and everything, and even put us a comment of these people we are going to show, we are putting there, we are going to hire them, we are going not to hire them, we are going to interview them. So that's it. Then my next question is, Kenya, we said 40 million is to campaign for MP. I don't know if it's 100 million for governor or everything. Why don't we do this as a country? We tell governor, your maximum of stealing is 100 million. Your MP is maximum of stealing is 40 billion, because they need to recover their money at the end of the day. We need to be honest about each other. Nobody spends money for everything, just for the pleasure of it. People would rather keep their money and be happy. Now, my last question is with EACC, the level of corruption, the level you are talking about. You recovered 6 billion and 12 billion is stopped. Uhuru told us it's about 20 billion, and we can trust Uhuru because he has access to information. He told us 20 billion. So you stop in a less than day for a year's work of work. How can it be? How can it be? The rationale, even the spending of the money, what you recover is equivalent to amount that you keep on running. I see EACC has been used as a political. EACC, according to me, died the time Lumumba fought against Cecil Mbarire on that case, and Mbarire won. That means you are not above board, because if Cecil Mbarire there, if in fact PLO Lumumba was when at the peak when EACC needed to be strong. In fact, he went on a demonstration to Minister of Land, and the Commission of Minister of Land told him, it was a she, told her instead of demonstrating, he'd be investigating these things. We have so many cases in this country. I can say that people are clean because people in this country have a propensity of stealing, and we can't get clean people in this country because they are a reflection of us. But again, EACC at least should become above board, starting from the organization itself. They should be publishing everything, and everything should be known. And these things of calling people
All right.
150.
Here you have to learn. We must be completing this conversation. I think you've put across your points. We get it.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't want to be rude, but we really have to. Every good thing has an ending, and I would love to have a conclusion to this talk. I therefore want to request us to accept that this must come to an end. But before that, Eric, unfortunately, you have a lot to convince these gentlemen and ladies that you are doing the very best as an organization to address the issues surrounding corruption. And it's not just corruption. There's the issue of integrity and accountability. So I'll give you 2 minutes, Eric, to make your final remarks, consolidating everything that has been raised as questions, including the issue of recruitment and where do these ghost employees or trainees come from after recruitment. EACC, courtesy of Eric, please.
Thank you very much. I want to be very quick because I'm also losing my charge shortly. Starting with the question regarding whether we are only focusing on counties, because I've talked about it more. I want to say that the challenge of corruption cuts across both the levels of government. Perhaps the reason why I was talking about counties more is because unlike the national government that has accountability mechanisms in the running of institutions, we have counties that today don't even have the basic accountability mechanisms for protection of public funds. And that is why the problem is more prevalent there. In terms of action, again, following what has happened in recent months, you have seen senators at EACC, you have seen heads of state corporation, Mzalendo Kimbuncha and the 400 million paid to ghost workers. Recently, Director General Nita, Tanahavi, 297 million, and many more. There is a lot of information on those, and we realize that it cuts across both levels. Where does the recovered money goes? The law requires that whatever is recovered is sent to the consolidated fund, and we've been sending that money to PS Treasury. If it is in the form of assets, be it land or government houses, they revert to those institutions. But I also acknowledge that we have another challenge of regrabbing of what has been recovered. So there are cases where after those properties go to the institution,
All right, Eric, we were hoping you can answer where the money goes, but clearly that's the part we decided to keep it not a public information. But anyway, that's on a lighter note. Once Eric recovers, we'll be able to get them. But for now, I want to cross over to Paula. Paula, when we started this journey conversing about money and what we need to do as a people to address the issue of integrity and accountability, it looks a bit far-fetched, but the reality is people are interested in this conversation. Paula, from where you sit, what's your conclusion, especially having listened to Kenyans and where the direction of this talk is headed?
Wow. My reaction is wow. I think we've been here for nearly 6 hours, and I had no expectation we would go this long. Ellie, it's really thanks to you and Obed for pulling this off and being such great moderators. You've been able to keep people interested and engaged. We did, in our poll, realize that people said 67% of the recipients or the respondents said they would engage on this issue. And I think this is a fantastic beginning. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been here listening, and those people especially who have shared their experiences, expressed their concerns, and presented some very interesting ideas, solutions, and experiences from other places, because I think this is all very relevant. We obviously can't solve everything here, but I feel personally that I've learned so much. I've learned more than I could have expected, and I'm really grateful for that, and I hope everyone feels the same. And I regret that not everyone maybe got to say everything they wanted to say, but I'm really excited that this was a very open and a very professional dialogue. It wasn't, nobody was screaming or yelling and insulting each other or anything. So that's really amazing considering how frustrated everyone is about what's happening. Corruption, I think what I've gotten out of all this conversation is corruption is the number one problem with our beloved country, Kenya. It is affecting education, it's affecting health, it's affecting business, it's affecting our psyche, it's affecting our mental health, it's affecting our aspirations. So we have no choice but to deal with it if we really want to have a wealthy, healthy, successful future. And I think what's missing for us as Kenyans is we don't really have a vision. We have what would I say, an interpretation of who we are out there in the world. If you ask anybody in the world, they say, oh yeah, Kenya is a great country. You have good runners, you have these great animals, but it's such a corrupt country and it's dangerous. Those are the things that people will say about us. And that's not how we would want to be known. We want to be known as an amazing country which has integrity, where everyone can proudly say, I have integrity. So I think we need to retool ourselves, starting with a vision, because we can go after these different institutions, but if they are not aligned, if what we're doing in the judiciary, we're doing in the EACC, what we're doing in whichever institution it is, if it's not all aligned under a common vision, then they will all be operating in their individual silos, which is actually where we are right now. What if we could actually try to pull together some of these ideas and recraft a vision, maybe for 2050, which is all about, ending corruption in order for our country to be successful, thriving, inclusive especially of the youth, which makes up more than 50% of our population, and corruption free. I think that will force us to rethink the pillars of the future of this country, the pillars of development. What would we want in every single sector, including education, which several people have raised? Because it's very depressing when you meet young people and they just don't know what the future is for them. They are really giving up. A lot of people are just giving up. They just don't care about the future. When I was a kid, I was so excited about the future. But now with what's happening in this country, people feel like there's no hope unless you're already, in a wealthy family or connected to some powerful politician. So in ending, I just want to say I'm very excited about all the content we have. We've got an enormous amount of information, and I would love to be part of a smaller team to now recraft it into practical things that we can do and suggest, so that as a nation we can actually start working on all these different areas, but under an overall vision for our nation. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Paola, and very gracious of you to spend the day with us, including our guest who left earlier on, Houghton Irungu from Amnesty International, KE, that is Kenya, and really defending the very beliefs we have as a people, that we want to prosper as a nation. But for that to happen, we must critically discuss issues surrounding corruption, and not just the issues, but how they affect our day-to-day existence as a community, as a country. I know against all odds, we would have decided to call it a night or an afternoon, but I'll give Mugandi 1.5 minutes. I know it's quite late, but kindly, Mugandi, make your comment very quick before we can go to the co-host to make it a call of the day.
Well, thank you so much. I'll just make maybe a statement because I'm from Uganda. And corruption has blown the region into a furnace. The Ugandan youths are being told not to emulate the Kenyan youths. So what have the Kenyan youths done wrong that the Ugandan youths are being told not to emulate, and they have now deployed the army? You can't move in Uganda now. But it's just because of corruption. And nobody should give corruption lip service. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Eric, are you there with us? Do you want to finish the statement you had earlier on, or should I proceed to Obet? We don't have Eric. George, anything? Oh, Eric is there. Eric. Your mic is muted. Unmute. Okay, now you unmuted. Proceed, Eric.
Yes, I was saying that the challenge of corruption cuts across both the national and the county governments. So we need to strengthen internal controls. That will help. Then to the gentleman who had said that there is an email they wrote, I want to advise that they get in touch with us. Some of the issues that have come across this platform are also in the form of reports that the commission will follow. So if you have a matter that you feel that has not been addressed, because it is possible that we don't have some of the things that are happening out there, please give us that information. You can reach us through our anonymous report system that is on our website. We have an office in Kisumu. We have an office in Bungoma, Nakuru, Nyeri, Mombasa, Malindi, Isiolo, and Eldoret. And you could also write an email to us, report@integrity.go.ke. And finally, if there is a specific issue that you want me to address, I could address before I now leave.
Thank you. I think that would be all for now. You know how to reach the EACC. And again, let me just reiterate, Eric did not receive an invite to the
The
space.
issue of recruitment in security forces is being stripped.
Who is speaking?
Sango, please
Okay.
give us some respect. We've honored you, we've allowed you to speak, and now trying to interfere is not a good thing, and it will not be fair for us to drop you. But allow Eric to finish as we end the conversation.
Actually, Obez, Eric made his final remarks. So I will now give George 30 seconds. George, anything specific and not addressed to anyone in particular?
Yes. So final point is, I heard the gentleman from EACC mentioning the places they are in. I would also suggest, after hearing the temperature on the ground from the people giving him feedback, that they implement visiting these areas in town hall kind of settings, so that they are getting in touch with the people on a regular basis, so that this information is not delayed or relayed in special meetings, but they make it commonplace for them to interact with the people and hear exactly what is missing. And he never mentioned any office in central Kenya. Probably you need one in Murang'a, and specifically investigate Mwangi area. And also, for the general purpose of the continuation of these conversations, Mizani, please create a new space where you are inviting the gentlemen who left when I showed up here, including Dr. Ekuru and Kibudha Kibwana, and also the other gentleman. He was in the inbox. Let me check his name. Araha Aduma. He is one of the authors alongside Dr. Ekuru, who created the 2010 constitution that allowed for 47 governors. So there is a conversation to be had there, and I wish to have those conversations around what we can do to amend our constitution so that it's serving our people, and you are eliminating all these useless positions in county governance. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, George. Mizani, I'm not going to wait for your invitation. I'm really grateful. Paula, thank you for spending your time here. And Eric, thank you so much. Without invitation, you've been very, very useful. What I think is very important now, as Mizani 254, what we've tried to do is to have conversations that are impactful. And what we are looking forward to is to be able to, like Paula said, maybe to a small committee of people to work out and, give the suggestions that have been done, have been said here, and the things that can work. The commission can look at them and see if it can be worked upon. Whatever it is cannot be done, or for any reasons can be dealt with in a way that should be dealt with. But we pride ourselves in the fact that as a small team, in the best way we can, we've tried to ensure that we engage in public policy issues. We have made contributions and write memoranda to Parliament on public participation issues. And we have endeavored, and if it is possible, we would like to, if we can help to collaborate this matter and help with public information dissemination, because I feel ACC's problem maybe is messaging, because there's a lot of information you've given us today here that many other people probably didn't know, and for those who are on the space have got to learn about it today. So we are happy to do that, which can be done. The whole purpose and intention of this is to ensure that we demand for accountability, a better governed country, and where everybody is given an opportunity, irrespective of the surname that they hold or where they come from. It is important that that be the case, because for a very long time, some of us probably, not even Luos, we are not Luo, but my name starts with an O, and sometimes we've been punished for that, just that name. I think it's really unfair to everybody else. Let us have a country that is equal for everyone. Mizani 254, we try to engage in conversations that are honestly intended to have everybody come on board, contribute, and hopefully we can make a difference in our small way. So thank you very much. Thank you guys for spending your time. For those that we could not be able to admit to the speaker, we do apologize, but we can only do so much because we have only 10 slots. But as George has said, there's further conversations we need to have. And George, we'll be happy to engage anyone who you feel is willing and happy. And for us, as long as the conversations are respectful, we do not have a problem. You can agree to disagree as long as it's with a lot of respect and there are facts involved. So in terms of further conversations, please don't hesitate to reach out to Mizani, and we can always try and engage in the best practical and possible way. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. And this has been a very wonderful space. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Obed. I really don't want to bore you with a lot of speech here. I just want to appreciate all the speakers, listeners, and contributors to the conversation. We cannot take it for granted that you spent your time to sit in and breathe into this conversation on retooling integrity and accountability. And we understand that integrity is not just about how moral you feel about issues. It's about doing the right thing. And that's why I believe when the EACC is trying to combat the issue of corruption and prevent it in the same breath, they have to still work around the issue of ethics and integrity in this country. Chapter 6 should not just exist as a blueprint of how we want us to operate in this country, but a reality of who we want to become as a nation. And therefore, moving into the future, we want to welcome as many as people into our talks. We do have our weekly spaces every Monday and Friday. However, this week, due to the weekends that we've been taking the longer special editions on Sundays, we are skipping the Monday spaces and having the Friday spaces, which are limited to 2 hours. So if you feel these are too long for you, kindly jump in on Fridays when we look at various topics surrounding the issues of leadership, integrity, and accountability. For now, I want to thank our main speakers, Paula Kahumbu, who is conservationist rather, and she has been a great impact to this talk. Let us give her flowers for that. Thank you so much, Paula, for making time to be here. Without forgetting Houghton Irungu from Amnesty International Kenya, who made time to be here early in the morning. If you missed out on his presentation, I challenge you to go back and listen to the tape. There's so much richness in whatever he delivered, and you don't want to miss on that. Of course, Eric has done an amazing job, irrespective of the fact that some things that we are saying do not feel good if you are the individual on that hot seat. But let's say it, among the public speakers and spokespersons I've had presenting institutions in our country, Eric, you did an amazing job, and we clap for you. Receive your flowers for that. Last but not least, all of you have been very disciplined. You have maintained a cordial relationship in the chat section. Even though we don't agree to everything you say, that is the beauty of democracy and the beauty of having a conversation. When we talk about national dialogue as a platform, this is the dialogue we are referring to. We are referring to us standing and being defiant to corruption without fearing who thinks what about it. I mean, if I was to level this conversation to what the young people were talking about on one of the local media, they converted corruption to genocide. And I do want to agree with them. When corruption happens, is either you are signing up to die by suicide or you are signing up to commit the most atrocious murder on human being you can think about. And therefore, let us not just shun corruption, but let us embrace integrity, and also remember integrity comes with a higher responsibility, which is accountability. In case you want to reach out to us and suggest more topics, you can do so by simply sending us an email on info@mizani254.org. That is info@mizani254.org. We are equally available on our platform. So if you DM us, either myself, that is Eli Lipiani on my social handles, or Mizani254, either of my colleagues will respond to you. And Obed, I see your hand is up, so I'm going to swing it back to you and allow you to conclude the
Yeah,
conversation.
my apologies. It's just that I've been sent some DMs with some details of some information probably that would be good for Eric's consumption. I'd like to forward them to him. And for the person who sent me the DM, just know that I'll do that. And I hope Eric will follow up and do what is required. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Without much, I want to take once again this opportunity to say thank you very much. We have a country to protect. We have interests to address, and the interest of this nation is let us continue building it, because plenty should be found within our borders. Have yourself a great week ahead. Blessings and take care. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I'm out.
Shamir, nimekutumia co-host. Alafu msinipigie simu bwana, natumia data. The more mnapiga simu, the more space inakatika. Kindly.
We are sorry for the drop of the space, and I can see our host have done better, and we are back. Yes, let me allow the speakers. The speakers, kindly, you can rejoin the space. We are back. You can rejoin those who are ready to speak. They can request the mic. I'll be able to give you the mic. Kindly, if you know you have something to talk about, to address, request the mic. I'll be able to see you and give you the mic.
Hi, mambo Shamir, ni Gadi.
Just hold on.
Yes.
I'll give you the mic to talk. Let's wait for the main speakers to join, please. Osama, kindly inbox the host so that you can be the co-host.
Shamir, is the governor still coming?
Yeah, I saw the request that he will be joining the space, but I think Sululu maybe, if he will be in a position to let us know if the governor will be joining the space.
Okay, Sululu, kindly let us know if the governor is going to join the space, please.
Kindly, the host, allow Daniel Osama to be the co-host.
Okay, namtumia co-host invite sahi. Let me check in. Mona may request to speak. Okay.
Hello. Can I be allowed to proceed?
Kindly unmute. Mute. Suma, mute first. Suma, mute.
Can I be allowed to proceed?
Mute your mic first. John, kindly mute your mic. Okay, as I said earlier, this space is a follow-up from the previous space which we hosted last Sunday. The space, the Chief of Staff, Mr. Noah Kala, joined the space, and we had a very a very good discussion with the residents of Mombasa. They are concerned about the accountability issues and good governance in our county. I know as Gen Zs have been focusing with the national issues concerning the financial bill at the national level, but we believe that at the county level, we also have financial bill. And there are key aspects we are analyzing from the county, including the financial bill 2024-2025 and other issues, misappropriation of funds, embezzlement of funds, and also corruption and other issues which is affecting our county. So we are here to host this space in regard to the request of the Chief of Staff, Mr. Noah Kala, where he said that the governor will be very much honored to join this space so that he can answer the queries or the concerns from the residents of Mombasa. So we are here to talk about the issues affecting Mombasa County residents, youths, citizens, taxpayers, and also voters of Mombasa. By saying so, I want to welcome Mr. Job Situma to give us overview and also talk about accountability issues concerning the financial bill 2024-2025. Karibu Job. Job, if you can hear me, just unmute your mic and proceed. Job Situma. Can you hear me? Nasikika?
Tunakusikia alafu umemute kila mtu na una request uongee jamani. Hey Job, let's continue.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know. Thank you, host. Sorry. Job, proceed.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Proceed, please. So
I don't know if
just mute.
I don't know if it's the right time to address some issues because you said the governor is joining. I don't know if there's a person from the executive who is here, so that I may not be talking to citizens. I want to talk to the key stakeholders. Shamil?
Yes, Osama. I can see the host. Is there a way you can make for me Osama as a co-host?
I'm trying. Unajua nilikuwa nimekutumia nikakutumia tena, so there is something I'm trying to do nione kama naweza drop one of the request yenye nilikuwa nimekutumia invite I mean.
Okay.
Okay, Shamil?
Yes, proceed, Job.
I don't want to talk on finance bill. I just want to address issues on implementation status of some of the projects that I did in Mombasa. And yesterday I visited I don't know, is it a level 4 hospital somewhere in Mokirunge Ward, known as Marimani. I was requested by the residents just to do a small story concerning the same. So far, there's a complete project because I was taking the status of the project under annual development plan ADP of 2021-2022, and it addressed that the health center itself is under completion. Yeah, the project is also complete, and it also as per the residents, it was launched for use, but surprisingly, Mokirunge being a rural entity within Mombasa, those who have visited Mombasa, despite the good road that is connecting from Shomoroni to Kaloleni, but it is still a rural setup, and it is very far. You know, the accessibility of good services, those within the proximity is not within maybe the town center. So acquisition of some key services, it forces some people to come up to town, which on a motorbike, it costed us like a 300 bob. So you can imagine accessibility of service, the proximity on the road is very expensive. Now the hospital, health is one of the main factor that sustain human body, human life. And the only place that you can rectify your health issue is a hospital. And the hospital is very key. It's very, very key. So I was wondering, how do we build a hospital that has costed the county government almost more than 55 million, and it's not under usage? And residents are really suffering. Some of them are forced to come for medical services. The nearest hospital is Vikwatani, which is very far from them. And also other services accessing the Coast General. So I was wondering, I just wanted to address this issue. I don't know if the governor is around here or anybody, any key stakeholder. How can an hospital under completion, it doesn't have anything, medical facility, it doesn't have drugs, it doesn't have madaktari hawako, and it's not under usage. The only thing that we found inside the net, and I'm told the facility nowadays it has been converted to town hall meetings within the area. When the chief want to hold a chief baraza, you'll always use that hospital because it is empty, because there's no ongoing activity there. And this one contradicts the Bill of Rights. Health is under Bill of Rights. It's just contradicting the Bill of Rights under the health status. So I was wondering why this hospital is not in use up to now. Why did they want to convert it into a rehabilitation center? A rehab center whereby drug addicts are taken. And the people of Makurunge, the public participation was conducted, and some of the issues were raised by the people of Makurunge. And they say they don't want a rehabilitation center. They just want that hospital to serve them. So why is this project not? It's just told like that. Why there's no anything going on, any health activity going on? So those are the key questions that I'm asking today, and I'll also allow others to talk. But I have so many issues at hand, which I'll bring it later. But the key issue is that health center. So I want to see it working. I don't know if somebody is feeling me. If somebody has been to Makirunge, the health center is not Marimani Health Center. Yeah.
Thank you, Job. Thank you, Job. I hope I wanted to welcome Mr. Osama to clarify if the governor is joining us, so that we can know if it is possible to ask those questions, whereby the governor can come and clarify on those issues. Meanwhile,
another concern before I forget.
Okay, continue.
There's a center. How do you call it? This there's a center built by the center that was built under GAF project in Makirunge. Unahitaji hii center. Hii ya kusave mambo ya abuse women and whatever. Inaitwaje hiyo Shamir? What do you call it? Rescue center. A rescue center. There's a rescue center that was initiated by the former women rep, and it is also ongoing by the current women rep. Surprisingly, the project is told the money has been allocated for that project, but there is no entry. There's no road entry towards that center whereby it can help even the vehicle carrying the material to the site. It's invisible. The road there's no visibility of the road towards that center, and the money is there, but the road itself, So through the partnership, yesterday I tried to call the women rep, and I asked the same concern, and the women rep was very categorically saying that he has initiated so many partnership with the county towards maybe they can help him to facilitate that road, to make that road being passable, so that he can continue the project, so that it can help it can help other vehicle to carry the material to the site for the completion of that project. But there's nothing so far. She hasn't received any help, so it makes her also think like somebody can think that it might be a political witch, and maybe I don't know, but can they address that issue of that road? And my good friend, Dan Manyala, the CEC for transport and roads. I know he has been doing a lot in terms of roads in Mombasa County. So whoever can address this to him, tell him that please make that road passable so that we can have a rescue center whereby our women and our children can have a good place to be rescued in the future. So I think that needs to be addressed.
Okay, thank you, Job. Just a polite request to those who have joined the space. Kindly stop making many calls. I think that's the main reason which made the first space to drop off. I want to welcome Osama and also to say something. Osama. Osama, can you hear us? Osama, unatupata? It seems he has a problem with his mic. Okay, Mkenya one, can you proceed?
Shamir, allow me to talk later, kindly. I'm just finishing something, then I'll fully participate. I'm just following.
Okay, thank you. I want to welcome Gadi to proceed.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. Kuna tunamaliza tu like 3 minutes and I'll be back to you guys. Thank you.
It seems my speakers are not ready. Job, meanwhile, you can unmute if you are done. And if you feel that there's something you want to top up, then you can proceed. But kama umemaliza, kindly just mute your mic so that we can allow other speakers to make their concerns. Job, kindly mute.
I think I'm muted. Actually, mute tena.
Okay, I think you have problem with your mic. Charlie, I can see you have been raising up your hand to speak. Proceed. Charlie. Yeah, it's called Charlie. Meshak, unanisikia? Can you unmute and proceed?
President.
Yes, proceed.
Thank you, President, for this chance. Mine are just few. If the governor will be joining here, I think it will be better. I think he has that like sijui nitaita sickness ama ni kuchelewa kwa vitu zenye amefanya. Like jana tulikuwa kwa mkutano, we waited for him almost 2.5 hours, like seriously, like na ni wananchi wamemgoja. We are the bosses. He's not our boss. We should know that. Kama kuna mtu wake hapa anaweza kumwambia ama kitu ya kwanza ni hiyo. Sisi ndio boss wake. Tulimweka hapo sisi na kura yetu. So hizo vitu za ni kama kuna madharau. Hiyo me generally ni piece of two. Because I left my jobs like nikaachana na clients wangu. Ndio sasa kulikuwa na hiyo kikao hapa tu, tukasema acha tufike saa 9. Saa 9 tumekaa, saa 10 tumekaa, almost 5. Anakuja naye mbwembwe mingi kweli. He should know that we are the boss, and if we plan something or he plans something, then he should be on time. Actually, me, I'm 100% sure the people who are telling you that I'm busy with something, they're waiting for him to talk to him. Because now if they said, if they talk what they have, hatasikia na hakuna kitu atafanya. My first point, just to my points, because niko na mkutano nyingine pia mimi, Nitaanza na Mombasa alafu nitaenda kwa National. Mombasa, nimekuwa nikipita hii barabara yenye inajengwa hapa hii mpya. One thing ya kuchekesha na ya kushangaza na ya kuhuzunisha, like those hardwares beside the new the new barabara yenye inajengwa, hakuna mtu hata amekuatenda. Swali ukiuliza kwa nini hizi vitu zinaimportiwa zote, eti hawa watu ni hawezi supply hiyo quantity yenye inahitajika hapo, hata kama ni simiti or the whatever equipment. Nikauliza, if they can't, why don't you have a plan? Because the tax that is paying is paying for that road to be made is their taxes. So the plan is unaweza wajoin hata kama ni hardware ya 10, waambie wewe hardware yako ni hii, inaweza supply simiti hii, hardware yako ni hii, inaweza supply simiti hii. Kama wanahitaji simiti capacity fulani on a day, then those 10 hardwares they can come together with the platform na waseme sisi tunaweza supply basi hizi, kama ni 100 hatuwezi, tunaweza supply 90, then hiyo 10 mpate mahali kwingine. As in kitu inajengwa hapo, hakuna mtu anadevelop, hakuna mtu mwenye anasaidika na hizi project. And I was pissed off, like seriously. Na governor anajua hii kitu, hata DJ pia anajua hii kitu. Like seriously, we are in a mess in Mombasa. Na ni kitu ndogo tu, ni kitu tu ya kuhusisha watu. Kama hii kitu inajengwa, ni tax yetu wa Kenya ndio inatumika, but at the end of the day hii tax nalipa, na nikiulizia accountability bado siambiwi, nikitaka inifaidi bado sipatiwi. At the end of the day mchinku ameleta kila kitu from huko hizo material zake amemaliza, ameenda zake, bado tax yangu ndio inamlipa huyo mchinku kwa hiyo barabara. Then the next thing, jana kuna kitu governor aliongea kurespond. Kuna my friend alimuuliza swali zuri sana, like there was allocation of 15M hiyo renovation ya ofisi yako kiwa tu mtu jana mchana kama sasa hivi. Na hii parking payments zimerise sana. Governor hakujibu. At the end of that quote he just said like ati hakuna mtu atanitisha, na like alijipiga kifua in a way like hata nilimwangalia nikasema sasa huyu, it's like common sense. Mwananchi ameuliza hii 15 million umeallocate kurenovate ofisi yako, how did it went down? Because 15 million is a lot of money. Hawezi niambia umerenovate ofisi unaanza kusema eti umerenovate ofisi yako, ukarenovate ofisi ya DG for sure. Like the guy is just joking with us. Nasir is joking with us, and we will put him on account mpaka ile time tutamtoa, and it's very soon. The third point is about this Marikiti and Mwembe Tayari. The guy hakuna kitu anafanya, ni PR nyingi tu kupita mtaani na maconvoy. Hapa Marikiti sisi, I have a shop there, tailoring shop. I pay Msomali. Instead ya county ijenge hata kama ni stalls. County haiwezi kosa mahali pa kupata hapa town kujenga stalls za wananchi. Na tupatiwe tu stalls, tuambiwe hizi stalls it's fine, but you will be paying such kind of money, because nikilipa Msomali I pay expensive, but nikilipa county na nalipa bado taxes, na promote Mombasa, na at the end of the day na mimi pia napata kitu. But sasa nikilipa Msomali almost 50k a rent kanyumba tu kadogo, na wezi bagay juu watu pia wanataka. But kama tungepatwa hizi environments za kufanya hizi biashara, ingekuwa at least juu tunaona hii gorofa, kuna gorofa mpya hapo kama mnaiona hii Umoja hapo wameka viatu zao hapo, the new building actually ukiangalia hata ijaja huko juu, it's still empty because it's expensive. That thing you can't build it in Marikiti, so we build in Nyali basi. Like the sense of our leaders in Mombasa, like it's 0% loading. Uwezi weka hapo, weka stalls hapo, weka containers, zipandishe juu, zikuwe gorofa. Stall moja, hata watu wawili wapatiwe, partition wenyewe, walipata kama ni 2,200, and that's it. And that's where you see, like, si tumetembea Nairobi, tunaona hizo stores venye zimejengwa, like mtu anakuambia analipa, ako Nairobi na analipa mlango like 3k in a month, which means analipa kwa county 3k, na wewe huku unakuja unalipa 50k. The same side, the same ile tu space yenye unapata huku ni hiyo tu, the same na huku. So ile government ilifanyaje na hii yetu ikafanyaje? But the governor is just PRing in town. Hakuna project mpya amefanya, hakuna employment mpya ya vijana amefanya mpya. The guy is just a mess up, and I wish to get him here and skize, but it's fine. So to go to the national, the other thing venye tunamdamana like Tuesday, we are on roads. I think President, kama unaweza kuwa na hiyo sijui utafanyaje.
Mr. Meshak, can you allow the other speakers to talk about the county issues? Then when the moment we are done with the county issues, then I will welcome you back so that at least we can touch on the national issues. Thank you.
Thank you, President.
Osama, just confirm to me if you are ready. Can you hear me? Daniel Osama?
Yes. Nakupata loud.
Okay, now.
Naona Sululu yuko kwa wewe.
Yes.
Naona Sululu ni mfanyikazi wa county. Esena anatumia account yake kuingia hii live ama Esena hajafika? Sululu. Mumempandisha yeye ni speaker hapa yeye. Amepanda kama nani?
No.
Kama gavana
ngoja, wait. I think Sululu is a resident of Mombasa. Maybe he have joined as a resident of Mombasa or as an official of the county. So maybe we'll clarify that when he get the mic and also say something.
I think we should not
let him clarify first, because atuoni governor. Atuoni governor hapa.
Okay. Let's have order. Let's have order, please. I'll allow Sululu to brief us if he want to talk from the point of as an official of the county or as a resident of the county. So maybe Sululu, if you can hear me, can you clarify that one first? Then we proceed.
Thank you. Shamir, I get the concerns of, first of all, let me appreciate the team that has managed to organize this space. It is a good initiative, and I want to advise my brother Osama. Osama, I'm a youth, I'm a Gen Z, I'm a resident of Mombasa, and I am privileged to be working with the county government of Mombasa. So that should not be viewed as that should not be viewed in a negative, should not be taken in a negative perspective. But just a humble concern is that the governor is currently held in a public event at Likoni constituency, and hopefully maybe after the event will be joining us. But at this space, I'm here as a youth, and I'm here also as a staff of the county government of Mombasa, because those two things are interjoined. I cannot say I'm not a youth, but I'm a staff at the county government of Mombasa. I cannot say I'm a staff at the county government of Mombasa and I'm not a youth. Those are interjoined. Thank you, Shamir, for the opportunity. And a humble request.
Yes.
I was also requesting if I could be made one of the hosts, so that we can have a transparent dialogue where it is not biased in any point, where everyone is able to raise their concern without being feel targeted. Because Osama is a good friend, but he has come out gun blazing just because I'm a staff at the county government. So that is my humble request. But thank you, Shamir, for being a very transparent and moderate, a good moderator. Thank you.
Thank you. No, Osama, wait a little bit. I will give you the mic to speak, Osama. Thank you, Sululu, for taking your time as an employee. Not all employees of the county have taken their time to join this space. You taking your time to be here, it means that you consider, you value the interest of whatever we want to discuss here. And before maybe the request you have made, I just want to appeal to you. Maybe you will be helping us taking notes of all those the queries which have been raised with from the previous speakers, so that when the governor join this space, maybe you will be able to take him through whatever have been raised before he joined this space. Secondly, I want to make an humble appeal to my host, Kioti Sonko. Kindly, if you can allow Sululu to be the co-host with me, so that he can also make other county officials, because I will not be in a position to know all the county officials, maybe to respond the questions which will be asked by the members or by the residents or voters of Mombasa. Thank you, Sululu. Osama. Osama, proceed. Osama, you can proceed. Yes, thank you. I've seen now Sululu is a co-host. Thank you, Sululu. I think you will help me taking up the role, and you will be able to also give the mic to other county officials whom you see it is able to answer the question which will be raised by the general public members of Mombasa County. Gadi, I can see your hand. And Gadi, when you come, when you unmute to speak, kindly, I want us to tell us, because I am aware that you are a student at Technical University of Mombasa, and yesterday the governor visited the varsity, and there is a key address he made to the students. And before that, we had some certain allegations how the forum was conducted. So I will not like if you maybe you idea politics, but I just want you to clarify and address the issues about governance and accountability, where you are as the student of two, and with the office of the governor or Mombasa County government. Thank you, Gadi. Karibu.
Okay, thank you, Shamir. So I'm currently not in session, and I was not. I didn't attend the meeting yesterday. Mine is about I think it is the public budget, yenye tulikuwa tumeenda public participation.